What is going on, everybody? It is episode 316 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. Happy Friday. We are still running from the tech issues. Hopefully nothing will go wrong. Not to jinx it or anything.
Yeah, just bring it right away.
I'm super excited because we have a special guest in the studio today. Thank you for being here, Christian Toto.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
How you doing?
I'm great.
I was reading a couple of excerpts from your book earlier, which I'd read like last year, and I was reading the stuff about the Oscars, which we're going to be talking about today. We were talking about Oscars So White and all that stuff. Was a lot of that like the like impetus for writing your book? Because you've been in this industry for like a long time. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it was like a lot of different factors that went into the book. It was funny because I had someone approach me. A publisher said, we'd like to work on you in a book project. And I thought, well, what should I write about? Then like 8 seconds later, of course, that's what this whole woke culture was happening to Hollywood. It's crushing it. That was a natural.
So that's become like a part of the business right now, right? If there's going to be the people that are going to push woke ideology on people, there has to be a group of people that are willing to push back on it.
Yeah, I mean, there's almost a capitalistic effort underway where you've got this whole push, this message, this machine. Yeah. And the others are kind of bubbling up from the surface and, you know, using Patreon and podcasts and all these different avenues to say, hey, we're going to fight back and we're going to make some coin on it.
Everywhere they go, they get pushed somewhere else as well. And then they make their own places to go.
And one sad thing there is that they often get banned. Like, okay, I'll just go on Instagram. I'll be on TikTok. I'll have a podcast. Oh, no, wait. If you're on Spotify, what if Neil Young comes knocking on your door saying you're spreading misinformation? I talk to comedians all the time who said that their jokes are banned on certain platforms. They're jokes, and there's nothing outrageous about them, but they're inconvenient, and that's why they get banned.
It's funny too because like I feel like most of the time, like this show, as much as we call out a bunch of absurd behavior, is for the most part it's kind of like libs of TikTok where you just kind of reflect back at them like what they're doing. But I don't really find, and maybe it's just my own view, but I don't find most of what we talk about hugely controversial. I just see like, look, you make these ridiculous projects, you have these actors saying these ridiculous things. I don't think there's anything wrong with at least asking questions. Like, is it wrong to ask questions about this behavior? Yeah. Especially if you're still willing to watch the products. Like, we still go to the movies. We still review the movies. We
give Elizabeth Banks multiple chances, you know?
Yeah, after all of the crap I've given Elizabeth Banks for Charlie's Angels and her generally horrible demeanor in her interviews, right? Just not knowing how to interview people or be interviewed by people. Like, we gave that movie a fair review, and I think like that's what the world needs a little bit more of, is a little bit more of like, look, I can push back on anything you say, but if you make a good product, I'm still going to tell you it's a good product.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think you have to recognize quality. You have to push for excellence. If you see something that's wonderful, embrace it. And that's exactly what you say. I don't think Elizabeth Banks is a great director, but she picked a project. She understood there's something behind it. Yeah. Just the title, the theme, everything about that was going to be a hit, and it is. And she was smart enough to kind of ride with it. Maybe
the idea is like that it's like positive affirmation. Like if you give, it's kind of like Rian Johnson, like we were talking about earlier, like don't encourage Rian Johnson to make Star Wars movies. Encourage Rian Johnson to make murder mysteries. Like whatever you think of Knives Out or of the sequel of Glass Onion, you liked Glass Onion?
I like them both. I don't think they're great, but they're fine. They're fun.
Yeah. Sure. Like whatever you think of those, encourage him to like go with what works, right? Yeah. Don't make Star Wars, because he's still threatening people all the time with doing that Star Wars movie. Like he's like, I'm going to get that trilogy, and people are like, please don't. Like, right? So we're just going to talk about a bunch of that stuff today, because we are going to talk about Will Smith. Will Smith is at his first award show back after the Oscars, after Slapgate 2022. Would that have been 2022 or 2021? The Oscars always happen.
It was
22.
It was the start
right before
of
I got here.
So we're going to talk about Will Smith using his very first media appearance at an award show back to talk about slavery and being spit on. It's not the best marketing plan if you're trying to ingratiate yourself to the public again. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about Woody Harrelson and Tim Robbins, both in 1 week alone, along with Fran Drescher, all kind of speaking up about COVID mandates. Where was all of this 2 years ago? That's what Hannah Claire would have said earlier. It's like, where were you guys in 2021? So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about actress Jenna Malone. She was apparently, what should we say, S-worded?
S.A. On the set of Hunger
assaulted.
Games.
Yeah, and we will tie that in with Bill Murray's movie getting canceled because he had a S.A. claim against him that he paid out over $100,000 for. We reported on that earlier. It was a movie called Being Mortal. And that has been canceled because of the claims against him. So we're going to talk about all that. And then we're also going to talk about Kindle. The Amazon and the Kindle is now censoring your books. So somebody earlier in the comments said, like, why does it matter? Like, nobody's reading James Bond books. And I said, it matters. It matters if any of this is happening, because eventually, as the world becomes more digital, you're going to be consuming far less of your media through paper. And
I'm surprised that someone would even comment that.
I know, right?
And it never stops there.
No.
It's like, okay, we're listening to James Bond, and that's it. We're done.
Yep.
Never.
Imagine that. They'll find something. I mean, if they did Dr. Seuss first, they can find something to complain about for everything. But before we get into it, I think what we should do is we should do cringe of the day first. I've been dying for you to see this one.
I actually haven't seen this.
You haven't seen this one? Okay, you're gonna love this.
Okay.
You'll be able to see it on that screen over there. So here we go. This gentleman is about to tell you why he is flexing on everybody else, and it's amazing.
Let's take you, for example, and me, and we both pull up and we go to your girl. Odds are I'm gonna take that bitch. If you compared me to you, you're not gonna win that battle. So the next time you think that your girl's on lock, I got the keys to the castle, motherfucker. Let's take you.
I didn't hear an ounce of confidence in anything that man just said.
His laugh was like,
like, I didn't see an ounce of confidence or actual, like, self-respect in that entire
He sounds
clip.
like those parodies of Ben Shapiro that don't exactly sound like Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, well, it even had, like, a vaguely Andrew Tate-esque music in the back.
But no, that's the song I was saying.
Yeah.
That's the Sigma Male Grind Set theme song that I was talking about.
Okay.
Like, I couldn't remember what it was called. It's some, like, Russian song. They
Yeah,
always play that in the background of, like, all of these red pill dating videos.
Okay, here's the thing. When someone tells you that I'm funny, they're not funny.
Oh, yeah.
When the guy says I can get your girl, he's not getting any girl.
It's like very few people. The funny thing about that is, like, I have a friend who says very few people are actually funny. Shoot for amusing. Like, the average person should shoot for being generally amusing.
Clever at best.
Clever at best. Like, there's very few people in the world. Like, in your average high school, like, maybe you had one per class that was, like, an actual funny person. So you got to think that's, like, 1 in every 30 people. How many times are you going to encounter that on a daily basis, like, that you actually interact with? And in your friend groups, how many people would you say you have that you'd consider to be, like, genuinely funny?
I'm friends with women. I wouldn't know.
Oh, that
Awful.
So you're the funny one then. Perfect. Okay, that's why you didn't know, because you're the funny one in your group.
Oh,
okay. That makes perfect sense.
You know, my friend Stu, when he tells a fart joke, it's a thing of beauty. It really is.
And certain people can just pull it off.
That's right. Yeah.
Everyone's got that.
I'm just
that
imagining this guy stumbling backwards into the pool that he's standing in front of. I'm going to take your girl.
You can almost hear his mom in the background. Hey, get over here.
It's sandwich time. Like, I think it's like the I'm not able to grow a beard, like mustache kind of, right?
Okay.
Like, he looks malnourished a little bit. Like, that's
Poor guy.
It's
we're
very
probably
hard
just
to,
dunking on him, and he was like, I was just joking, guys.
Well, he's apparently like I guess he's like a crypto millionaire or something like that. He made money.
Maybe he is going to take your girl.
So women are shallow. So you're saying women are shallow.
Some of them are.
Okay. All right. So
probably the women he's interested in.
Probably, in today's day and age. Also, guys, I wanted to share this amazing little story with you guys. Warner Brothers Discovery could be facing a lawsuit from fans of Henry Cavill. And somebody floated the idea, basically. If you remember, they just pushed forward a lawsuit in which Ana de Armas, she was going to be in a movie in 2019. I believe it was a Fox Studios production, like an old Fox Studios production. I don't remember who made it, but basically they put her in the trailer, and then she didn't end up in the final cut of the movie, and they were suing for like thousands of dollars for like mental anguish, and the lawsuit has gone forward under like current law, like about false advertising or stuff like that. So,
did they show up with like paper bags over their head? Because I wouldn't be associated with that publicly.
Well, like, also just imagine being that lawyer who's like, yeah, I think we've got a case here.
Right.
This will be fantastic. So the guy says,
just warning you, the crisis meter is not filling up for some reason.
Let's refresh and see if we can fix it.
Hopefully we can fix that before we get to a crisis party.
It should be good now, I believe. Yeah, it'll show up there.
Okay.
Okay. So
sorry about that.
Christian, whenever somebody super chats, it sets off the money guns. The money guns. See, like everyone's, we got our own gimmick here. We got our own gimmick. And when it reaches a certain amount, you get what is called a crisis party. And this week's crisis party is actually relevant because it features Woody Harrelson, and he's on one of our topics today. So it'll be culturally relevant. So we will talk about it. So this is the tweet that says the studio used him and us. It's time for a lawsuit. Says, hope we have lawyers in our fandom. Don't think Henry Cavill will sue Warner Brothers Discovery, even though he has the evidence. They spelled evidence wrong. That's fine. Hope some lawyers can advise us if fans can sue Warner Brothers Discovery for false advertising.
That typo was damning.
Yes, just a little bit. So
this is why James Gunn gets in arguments with fans on Twitter. Yeah. Because how can you read this and not want to respond?
Well, also, like, does that ever bother you? Like, when does he get any work done when he's literally tweeting 24/7?
That's disturbing. By the way, was it Lionel Hutz from The Simpsons? He might take the case.
There you go. Like Better Call Saul just went off the air. He's free. We can have Saul.
I mean, the problem is that you can't compare a movie trailer to the post-credit scene of a different movie.
Yeah, that doesn't actually
It's
work.
not advertising.
Well, it's like I was telling you earlier, like Marvel is famous for like putting in scenes in trailers that have nothing to do that end up getting removed from the movie altogether. So maybe Marvel's like cowering in their boots now because they're worried that they're not going to be able to like mislead people anymore. But that might not be a problem because Marvel doesn't seem to have a plan anymore.
Well, I saw this whole thread this morning on Twitter of people talking about post-credit scenes in Marvel and how like they tend to just deflate the entire plot of the movie that you just watched. Like, for instance, when Doctor Strange gets this third eye, and then he just seems to be vibing with it at the post-credit scene. Like, it doesn't make much sense. It takes all of the gravity out of everything that just happened.
I thought Eternals would sink the MCU, but these lawsuits might. So.
Yeah. Oh, man, Eternals was like the one. Like, if it didn't have, like, the one saving grace was having, like, Angelina Jolie be the only person of any level of charisma in that whole cast. It was literally a charisma desert. The whole movie was so...
Do you keep up with all the Marvel movies?
Yeah, I think I've seen them all.
Okay.
To me, Miss Marvel was the worst so far. Captain Marvel.
You watch all the shows as well?
No, I don't. I suffered through She-Hulk. I watched it, and then at the end, it became less horrible. I was very happy about that.
Okay.
Captain Marvel. I just thought Captain Marvel was generic. Like they're all just kind of like a lot of them just ended up being very, very generic. And then the Eternals was the worst for me. The Eternals was the worst because of the meandering pace in which nothing seemed to matter, and also advertising like the Marvel's first sex scene, and it was like the most boring. Like Mary would be offended because they put sex on camera. I'm offended because it was just boring and stupid. It was.
Well, didn't half of them die by the end of the movie too? I was like, that's weird.
Yeah. So like the Eternals was like the whole movie. I'm just like, could they just please put the camera on Angelina Jolie for the rest of the movie and stop?
In my opinion, it's just a sin that they would like poach Angelina Jolie, an actress of her prestige, for the MCU.
Yeah.
Same thing with a lot of them.
You'd think she would like warrant her own film. Like, I get it. She's getting older now. Like she's not like the same box office draw that she was 20 years ago. But if the MCU was around 20 years ago, she could have been the Tony Stark of that time period. She was that big of a star back in the early 2000s.
We miss Tony Stark. Come back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, see, I don't think that. I think like let it die after Phase 3. Like, I don't think there was a need to go into Phase 4. I actually didn't hate Shang-Chi.
I like that one. I thought it was one of the better ones recently.
It was just like meh. Like it was fine. I don't like Simu Liu. I thought it managed to not make Awkwafina awful, which is rare. Like Awkwafina's kind of boring. So like having her not be like the most annoying part of a movie was kind of good.
Yeah.
But I liked the fight scene in the bus.
Yes,
that was like the best Marvel fight scene I had seen in a decent period of time.
What was the whole point of Phase 4? It was like a whole bunch of disjointed stories with no theme, no overarching villain, no connection, nothing.
Nothing. Well, it's like they had a focus from Phase 2 on. Phase 1 was kind of still like, they were figuring out where the hell they were going. But Phase 2 and 3 had a very clear endpoint with Thanos. So it is what it is. Also, guys, did you know there's going to be a Jussie Smollett documentary coming out soon? That is a real thing. The documentary is called Anatomy of a Hoax. It's going to feature the Osundairo brothers. I'm sure they got a good payday out of that. But also, Jussie Smollett has filed with his attorney to overturn his 150-day jail sentence for almost starting a race war. Like, dude almost started a race war. He's like, whoa,
If anything, it should be longer than that.
Much longer.
He's like, whoa, 150 days for almost tearing this country apart at the seams. Give me a break. Like,
did he serve like 3 days? How much? I don't think he even served 6
days.
Wow.
6 days. Like, and he went on like
even
hunger
worse,
strike.
he tried to frame people for hate crimes, which, if they were falsely accused, would then land them in longer sentences. It's the same thing like when we say, Me Too allegations that are hoaxes. Maybe you should get the same sentence as the person that you were falsely accusing would have gotten.
We should study him. The fact that he's still clinging to the story, it amazes
Well, he made like a whole song about how he's innocent.
It's so bad. We listened to it on air. It was so bad. Remember that?
He's like, do you really think that I would fake a hoax?
Yes, I really
for
think
clout.
Yeah.
And like, we were like, we do think that because it happened.
Here's a fun. You're a hockey fan. Did you know that he was in the movie Mighty Ducks?
No, I did not know that.
He was. He was in the original Mighty Ducks movie. So he's been in Minnesota.
Wow. How the mighty have fallen.
Yes, right. Like good Justice for Juicy. That was he. You can thank Chappelle for having the Justice for Juicy. That was like his best like bit that wasn't trans related in the last couple of years. Like where he actually got away from the trans stuff. So if anyone's looking to watch a documentary about how he almost destroyed the country, that is going to be coming out soon as well. Also, I just have a couple of quick announcements. John Wick 4, they're looking to be estimated at about $60 to $70 million opening weekend, which is, it has increased film by film opening weekends. The first one opened to 14 million back in 2014. Wow. But obviously it had legs and a lot of style. And for that, like it was kind of a revitalizing thing for the genre post. I don't remember what year the horrible Jason Bourne follow-up, the one that was just Jason Bourne. And I was like, now I remember why I hate shaky cam so much.
It's good the first time. Eighth time, not so much.
No, I love those first Jason Bourne movies. They're so good for their time.
They're visceral.
They're that would be, and that's kind of what the idea of like shaky cam filmmaking is, a visceral reaction. But it eventually went too far, and then you have that scene where they tried to have Liam Neeson climb over a fence in Taken 3, and they have to cut it from like 14 different angles because Liam Neeson's like 800 years old, and he can't really climb over the fence, so they have to get like a stunt guy to do it. So, but they have like it's like a guy running behind him, like as he's going up to the fence. And it's not even like if you were running with a camera that wasn't on Steadicam, you would be able to still hold it steady. This guy was going like as he ran. It's really great. Go back and rewatch Taken 3 if you're looking for what I'm talking about.
And also
really
watch
funny.
some recent Steven Seagal movies because the editing that it requires to make him move is really impressive. So that should be its own award.
Is he the one who got the award from Putin?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. He got like a humanitarian award from Putin. I love it. It's hilarious. All right, and then one more quick one. They have started production on the Penguin series for not Disney Plus, for Warner Brothers Discovery. It's all the same these days. It's all the streaming Borg that we're in right now, right? So they've started production on it. 8 episodes. It's going to be focusing on Oswald Cobblepot's rise to criminal fame in Gotham City.
And
after
Robert Pattinson is going to be in this.
Yeah, he's going to make a guest appearance. They could probably afford
maybe 5 minutes.
They can afford about 10 minutes of his time. Yeah, I'm sure. So
cool.
I mean, to be fair, Colin Farrell's a big star too. So
he's getting better too. He also is unrecognizable in that role. The makeup is spectacular. I don't know why they just didn't pick a different actor who looked like that, but there you go.
They could have gotten Pruitt Taylor. Pruitt Taylor Vince isn't really all that menacing looking though. Like actually, kind of is when he has a couple roles where he has a mustache. Maybe if they did him with the mustache, but so that and also Star Trek Discovery is done after this year. Does anybody care? No.
I don't think so.
Forgot it was on.
No. Yeah, everyone did. All right, guys. Did you? I wanted to actually share this with you really quick too as well. There is you did in your book. You talked about the Annenberg Inclusion Initiative and its effect on Hollywood in a way because it affected Oscars So White.
Oh yeah.
And that has now become a yearly thing in Hollywood where they basically flog themselves. Like a college in like USC flogs them for them, where they go in and they say whatever changes you've made aren't enough.
More,
right?
please.
Like more, please.
Yeah.
Right. So they have started their own website called the Inclusion List, which is basically it's like tracking how racist Hollywood is.
The founder said this comprehensive look at the Oscars demonstrates that exclusion was a normative for many years and still is in many categories. Yep. But it also shows there is power in collective action.
Collective.
And that energy has ensured that the years since #OscarsSoWhite do not look like the years that came before.
Yep.
Now when you check the box, you've got to use a Sharpie. So it's really...
Also, it's like what it does.
Oscars so male as well.
Yep, it's all of them. But also remember, this is my favorite part because we all know how much Hollywood loves firsts. They love the first Asian this, the first black that, the first woman this, the first person this, this, and that. It says each category includes details on the first woman of color, and person of color nominated, as well as the first to win the award. They're literally going to keep a database of firsts.
But you need to also have the intersectional first.
Yes.
So like the first Asian female, etc.
And that list can go on forever.
I mean, also like trans-identifying, non-binary.
Well, also remember they claimed that Black Panther was the first Marvel superhero movie, and they just lied.
Yeah,
they just lied. They like because Blade came out like 2 decades before that. Yeah. So they're like, oh, we meant MCU. It was the first Black MCU movie. I'm like, but that's not what you said. You said Marvel, and that's not the same thing. Marvel's been making movies longer than the MCU's been around.
Didn't Jennifer Lawrence get into trouble recently when she said she was the first action heroine for the Hunger Games?
No woman before her has ever acted in anything. Ripley was not a thing, nor the hundreds of television characters. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was not around before Jennifer Lawrence. As I am now the world's biggest Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan.
Is Jennifer Lawrence going to be in the new Hunger Games movie that's coming out?
I don't think so. I think it's prequels, isn't it? Or
I think it is a prequel. It's like something Songbird.
Songs in Desperation, I think it's.
Old ass Jennifer Lawrence appears there as like a vision.
Yeah, I don't know. And then I guess since SA was happening on set, I don't know if they can get anyone else to come back.
Vera Dark is in the chat, says Jennifer Lawrence created Hollywood. It's crazy.
She literally invented it. She was the first actress.
Period.
When you sing hooray for Hollywood, you're actually saying hooray for Jennifer Lawrence.
She wrote the song.
Yeah.
She wrote the song. Like if you perform it, it's actually copyrighted. She gets all the money from it. So, all right, guys, speaking of the Annenberg Inclusion Initiative, let's get started, shall we? So it says, Will Smith says that he was spit on by a white actor while filming Emancipation.
What?
He's already gotten melodramatic and emotional about Emancipation before this. He talked about being in these prop chains, which are actually real chains that have locks. And then someone loses the key on set.
And
they go searching for the key, and he can't get out of the chains, and he's like, I'm starting to have a panic attack, like I'm gonna cry. And then I really understood the experience of the slave. And I'm just thinking, like, you have lived literally the most comfortable life imaginable. There is nothing that could make you actually understand the experience of a slave. Like, stop being such a drama queen.
So imagine this. We're reading this, right? And 5 minutes before this, I'm explaining to Mary how Will Smith used to be the height of cool in Hollywood. I'm like, it's true.
Literally,
I know it sounds fake.
All I know is YouTube Rewind. That's hot. Like that's the first impression that I had of Will Smith consciously.
If you haven't seen Independence Day, you'll never know how cool Will Smith was.
I've seen Independence Day. It didn't really. I was a kid. I don't know.
Welcome to Earth. Are you kidding me? Like, I just want to get up there and kick E.T.'s ass. That's all. And that's Harry Connick Jr. in him with that, right? Is that?
Well, they're making a Bad Boys 4, right?
Yes.
So it's back to what he's best at doing. I don't think Emancipation was the best comeback move he could have made.
Not to endear yourself to the public.
And then of course, like he said that his own daughter was like, "Daddy, do we really need another slave movie?"
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's a genuine question. Like,
it is.
Was that Willow that said? I
believe so.
Yeah,
he said it was his daughter. Yeah.
Does he only have the two, Willow and Jaden?
I think so, yeah. But he also talked about one of his nephews saying, like,
Willow,
how could Uncle Will do that to that man? Why did he hit that man?
This is his quote. Oh, and he's been going off, too. Chris Rock has, like, made a whole special about it on Netflix. Like, he won't let it go now.
Yeah.
I love that he just got real petty. He was kind of stoic about it at first. He's like, I'm not going to comment on it. I'm leaving it alone. I got nothing to say.
Didn't he say it was, like, traumatizing? He was, like, processing processing the trauma.
Well, he said he's not going to comment on it. He did, to be fair, said I'm not going to comment on it until I can monetize it. He like said that in a quote.
Fair enough, you know.
So it says, he says, Emancipation was the most individual, difficult film of my entire career, he said after director Anthony Fuqua spoke. And he says, it was the second day of shooting and 110 degrees. I was in a scene with one of the white actors and we had our lines. And the actor decided to ad-lib.
Why did they capitalize white in here, by the way?
I know, right? Well, when they capitalize maybe that's like a pushback against the people who capitalize black. Yeah, like, I still don't get that. Like, why is that a problem? Like capitalizing, is that just like a...
It's weird grammatically.
Okay. And he basically, guys, what happened is he delivers his line, the white actor delivers his line and had the nerve to ad-lib on set. And after the white actor, which by the way, they don't give this guy's name.
He ad-libbed and spit in the middle of my chest.
Yes.
If I had pearls on, I definitely would have clutched them.
I think he's just embraced his like dorkdom. If you watch this video, guys,
it's not just being a dork. It's like literally being like the most beta cuck.
It's effeminate. It's effeminate. Like the way he like when he does like the speech. Yeah, I don't think we can play it for fear of copyright.
Someone on here commented 7 Years a Slave, a Will Smith story going straight to Hallmark Channel.
No, it wouldn't go to Hallmark. It would have to go to something else. So maybe we could bring back Quibi for that.
I mean,
I think snackable.
Maybe, yeah. The clips, they're so snackable. It's perfect. And he said that he wanted to call out for the director after this happened, but he realized that Peter, his character, couldn't have called the director.
Whoa.
Of course not.
Whoa. I mean, a slave couldn't go 200 years in the future and call someone for help?
Couldn't do that.
So this is him basically...
Helped him get into character.
I mean, yeah, exactly. This is not him saying just, it helped me get into character. It's him saying, I like connected to, my ancestral roots and I really like tapped into the real experience of what it's like to be a slave.
And then he went home and said, which of my 18 bathrooms will I do a number 2 in?
Yes. I called to the house for my kids and they called me from a landline.
He's married to Jada Pinkett Smith, so maybe he actually does have a connection to their experience. He's emotionally lashed every day.
That's a fair point. Like, she wasn't at this award show. Like she did not go with him to this.
Yeah,
likely.
Makes sense.
Yeah, like I do love the idea that
spazzed out again.
She probably has like a calendar for him to follow. She's like, you can go to this event, but not this event. Like you can go here, but not here.
Was this the first one that invited him? I need to know.
Well, she's tracking him with an app, right? That's for sure.
Oh, she's got Find My Phone on his phone.
But her location isn't on.
Yeah. Well, she's got an entanglement app that keeps it from tracking her phone, I'm sure. Also, his being cool isn't as old as you think. People loved him as Deadshot. He was like the one good thing people liked about Suicide Squad besides Harley Quinn. People liked her in that role and they liked him as Deadshot, and that's about it. He was cool. He used to be cool, and now he's a pearl-clutching weirdo.
Another part of this, he said the director did end up saying like, hey, let's do a take without you spitting on his chest. And he said, in that moment, I knew that God was real.
This wasn't the cringe of the week. This wasn't the cringe.
This is,
the cringe of the day needs to be snackables.
Yes, it's bite-sized cringe.
This is like a 3-course meal of cringe.
Yes, and to be fair, most of the stuff we cover could be cringe of the day. A good many of the things we cover could be cringe of the day.
Another thing is he thanked Apple. Because this was going to Apple TV, right?
Yeah.
He said, I want to thank Apple because the budget was one thing, and then the budget was another thing, and then the budget was another thing, and Apple never flinched. It was the first time I had heard from a studio that the story was more important than how much it costs to get it done. They make iPhones. They can do it. You're basically admitting that the mega corporations are conspiring in your favor. Well, and they are in the post-profit age. They don't care about making a profit on a project if it sends the right message.
Also, it's kind of proof that he's like, they have child slaves. It's fine. They can fund it. The child slaves can fund it.
Child slaves. They can do it. Hey, literally, the irony of Apple funding a movie about slavery to seem pious.
To be fair, those child slaves are never spit on. That's a good point.
That's a good point.
To our knowledge.
That we know about. He's had, I'm more offended. Like, I was more offended by his involvement in the Karate Kid reboot with Jaden. Like, I've heard people,
reboot was cute.
No. No.
I liked that.
I forgot it completely. I saw it, but
it had Taraji P. Henson in it, and I like Taraji P. Henson, but in general,
it was a cute movie. I go back and rewatch it sometimes.
So here's the bigger question: why does he tell that story on this stage?
Why is that your first story back?
He's an actor. He's got a million stories. I'm sure the set had a lot of different things he could share. His life's full and colorful. Why that story? That's interesting.
No, I agree 100%. Like if you're his like publicist, or you're the people in charge of his public image who probably just hate having Jada Pinkett Smith around. Like if you're this publicist and it's your job to make him cool again or likable again, like, and you're talking to him, this conversation has come up. You've discussed, like, what are you going to talk about on stage? Is an award show really the greatest place for you to go right now? Like, maybe you should just send Anthony Fuqua to accept the award and look a little bit more down to earth. So you go there like, okay, fine. We're gonna go to this award show. You're gonna go on stage. Now it'd be funnier if you went up there and like fake slap somebody. See, I like that, but that's just me. But like they had to discuss, like, what are you going to talk about? Are you going to talk about your family? Are you going to talk about the struggles of making this movie? Are you going to talk about what happened after Slapgate? Is it going to come up at all? Like, I think it would have been better to just be a little bit gracious, say thank you, and kind of get the hell off the stage as quickly as possible.
This movie isn't actually about the slave character who it is based on. Yeah. It's about all of the people involved in the project who want to feel like they're magnificent, virtuous people.
And they are, Mary. It's Hollywood. They're so virtuous.
And what PR rep thought that, like, the move after Slapgate was for him to make a highly rehearsed and produced apology video where he self-flagellates, posts it on YouTube, and then he continues going to award shows and virtue signals.
When you get really big and really powerful, I don't think anyone says no to you. Yeah. So I think he just pitches it and they go, yeah, that looks great. I'm good.
Also, even like you said, it's the highly produced part. If he'd done the same thing with just a phone.
In this creepy way where there was like a circular, like, piece of decor behind his head that looked like a halo. And they expected to get one over on us.
The other funny part about that is, like, it's not just that. It's like, it looks like a talk show set. Like, it doesn't look like an actual, like, it's not like he filmed it in his kitchen. Like, it looks like a fake, like, you could literally see the fake fruit that you can't eat on the countertop right there. It's
he definitely wasn't in his house.
It echoes the falsity, the fakeness of Hollywood. It echoes everything that everyone has a problem with in that industry, that you're not relatable. Nobody can, like, I don't want you lecturing me when you get to make your apology video from a big fake room with studio lighting. That's not a thing. That's not fair.
I still can't believe that he did the slap, went back to his seat, was it 20 minutes later, and got up to accept the best actor. And the first words out of his mouth weren't, oh my bleep, I'm so sorry. I can't believe this. Thank you for the award, Chris. I'm so sorry. What human doesn't do that?
I wonder if they asked him not to address it. It's a big production. Do you think they said, like, look, legal's involved now?
I don't know.
Would his lawyer have been like, if you say something, you're tacitly admit? Like, I mean, everyone knows you did it, but
that still would just warrant you saying, like, thank you for the award, and then sitting down. He went on a long tangent of incoherent nonsense.
But he kind of subtly said he deserved it in his speech when someone attacks my family. When he was talking about the Venus and Serena, it was wow. I mean, I just couldn't believe he went there and then went there. And that's that's when you apologize.
Another avatar like Prince Harry, victim of narcissistic abuse.
He should have gone the other way and just not apologized. He should have been like, I'd do it again. What if he did that?
I'd almost respect them.
Yeah, like when he's like, hey,
it was rehearsed. Don't worry, guys.
And then pay Chris Rock a ton of money to.
We duped you.
And then Chris Rock gets every acting role in history because they think he's the greatest actor in the world because they think that whole thing was planned. Also, didn't he make Ali? He made Ali, right? Like, that was the studio didn't give you the money to get that done in 2001, and that's the one with did Michael Mann direct that one?
I believe so.
And that was the one where, like, think about this. This is a crazy story. Like, post Hollywood 2016, no way that movie gets made by, like, a white director.
Oh no.
But Will Smith said that I think. Spike Lee wanted to direct that movie, and Will Smith said he wanted Michael Mann to direct it.
Oh,
But that would never happen nowadays.
Yeah.
They would say that you're not allowed to direct it because. Michael Mann directed it. So in 2001. So like nowadays they'd be like, well, he couldn't understand. He couldn't possibly understand the ability to direct a movie about Muhammad Ali.
And also, there are a lot of indie actors who will tell you, working on a movie, ran out of budget, we had to cut this, we had to cut that. Yep. How many times is Will Smith movies? It's Independence Day, it's Bad Boys. We got to cut it down. Let's rein in the trailer snacks or something. Come on.
Actually, that's actually what happened here. According to it says Will Smith and Michael Mann offered to put up their salaries in case the film went over budget. But put up doesn't mean they actually did.
Yeah, and
like
also,
anybody can offer something up. But
that's a more risk commercially than like
a
Bad Boys or Independence Day, which are slam dunks.
Yeah, well, it's The Hurricane is one of my favorite movies with Denzel Washington. And a lot of people haven't seen that one. Like I haven't seen all of Denzel's catalog, but I love that movie. And that's a movie that today would not be able to be made in a way that wasn't over the top and
it's a shame.
Heavily virtue signaling, given what that case was about. So Will Smith, just either own it or just go back to making Bad Boys movies, and that's your best path forward, I think. Yeah. All right, Mary, do we have some super chats there?
We do.
All right.
Okay, Big Dave sent. Okay, we've got
3 or 4 of them, or 3 of them there.
Yeah, $3 messages without a message in them.
From Big Dave, Halls and the Kid, and from Potatoes for Seamus. Thank you guys.
Jessica caused this. Regatan said, Chris Toto, play Elden Ring and also Disco Elysium. He tells everyone to do that.
I'm not a gamer.
You're not a gamer? Me and you aren't gamers.
Okay.
It's a classic. We're too busy critiquing crappy Hollywood.
That's right.
We don't got time for video games.
Ain't got time.
Yeah.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Mary, tell me more about the Twilight Saga. Potatoes just hates Twilight, and he keeps telling me about it, but I'm not going to respond to the haters.
Doesn't like the glittery people.
I love Twilight. I have my Twilight hoodie right here.
Fun fact, never seen a single Twilight movie.
You should at least give the first one a try.
It's a cultural moment.
Like, I didn't see that. There's a bunch of those ones for like, I didn't see any of the Divergent movies or any of
Divergent is like way lower tier.
I'm like, I think I saw one Hunger Games movie. Like,
even Hunger Games lower tier.
Yeah, like at that time.
Twilight is more culturally significant today, at least.
It just never felt like my realm. Like at that time, like now we would see it because it's it's relevant to what we're doing. But at that time, I was just watching stuff that there was probably a Transformers movie out at that time that I wanted to be watching.
I like that it's built into it that they can't reboot it with the same people because they're supposed to not age.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Trap it.
Nazca said you should have the guys from the Lore Lodge YouTube channel on to discuss supernatural historical elements of pop culture. They'd be entertaining.
We need to get Lore Lodge and Wendigoon are both ones that people have suggested.
Okay.
I'd like to get Mr. Ballin on, the guy who does the murder mystery podcast where he that guy's great.
I'm not sure what currency this is, but Simon Roney sent us $2 of it.
Thanks. It's just is it Australian?
I don't know. Steve Ryman said, I suspect Phase 4 was going to hinge on T'Challa. Boseman's death sent them back to the drawing board, and the rejected ideas were brought to life.
Well, was Wakanda Forever the start of Phase 5 or the end of Phase 4?
End of Phase
4.
Yeah.
That could be true. I mean, if it is, it proves that they didn't plan very well because they had a long time between when he passed. And,
he died like 2 years ago, I think.
In 2020, right? Yeah. Like, and as much as I like Letitia Wright as that character, and I think she brings a unique type of like vulnerability to that role for a character that's supposed to be a know-it-all. I find her like.
I really like her voice. Her tone of voice is very soft.
Also, she has like she's less intimidating, which makes the know-it-all, like somehow it makes the know-it-all personality more endearing to me in a way. And I think her voice might have something to do with it. It's got nothing to do with the fact that she's based on vaccines, I swear.
I didn't even know that.
Like I liked her in the first one, but she wasn't
She's a good sidekick in that franchise. She's not a star.
She's not a lead.
Yeah.
They would have been better off like just literally just driving a dump truck of money to Michael B. Jordan.
Angela Bassett did the thing.
No, they should have just driven a dump truck of money to Michael B. Jordan's house and said, like, we'll find a way to bring you back to life. We'll bring back Killmonger, and you can lead Phase 5. Like, he's a star.
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan is a legitimate star.
Yep.
Vanguard sent us $1 without a message. Thank you. RS Deggerchaff said Happy Friday, PCC.
And
it's finally the correct weekday that you're
one of our chat's favorite things to do is to gaslight us on what day of the week it is, and I tend to fall for it.
Doesn't work anymore.
One more and then we will move on.
Okay, Steve Ryman said Will Smith as Uncle Remus in a Song of the South reboot.
Oh, wow.
Zippity Doodah becomes Big Zippy style. Make it happen, nerds, that song.
I love it.
Big Zippy. Somebody make that remix right now.
They would never let that happen, and you know it.
Dude, let's go. I'm so down for that.
Unless Disney is trying to brush that off of their history, someone else can take the rights to it, and it'll be great.
We'll charge you $1. Would you like it?
Will Smith's like my career's kind of screwed right now. Let's go.
Why not?
Let's go.
Lean into it.
All right, guys, we're moving on. So Woody Harrelson is one of the most recent people to slam vaccine mandates and protocols in Hollywood, but Tim Robbins has also done so as well. If you guys remember a while ago, Tim Robbins went on
Russell Brand
and talked about it in length. His I liked a lot because Woody Harrelson's kind of always been anarchist-ish, and
what does that even mean when he says
he's
it?
like
he smokes weed.
He smokes weed. Yeah, he's a libertarian. He's kind of libertarian.
You smoke weed, and you're kind of a wild card.
Right.
Yeah, so he's kind of always been that way. But when Tim Robbins talked about it, he talked about it from the perspective of like a typical liberal who had his eyes open to it. But it's like now I just saw a post that I think Chris Bertman posted something about California opening up after like literally 3 years. Like he's like RIP California's 2 weeks to slow the spread. Like whatever month 2001 or 2020 to 2023.
Congrats or sorry that happened.
Yeah. So
Woody Harrelson did this New York Times interview late last week where he went more in depth on the vaccine question. And the masks, and
he's probably smoking weed. Well, he didn't.
Yeah,
that's why.
Probably
he's so
on that Joe Rogan strain. He said, "I don't think that anybody should have the right to demand that you're forced to do the testing, forced to wear the mask, or forced to get vaccinated 3 years on. I'm just like, let's be done with this nonsense. It's not fair to the crews." This is the part that I really liked. He is speaking out for the crews when the rest of Hollywood, especially people at the Met Gala, including AOC, would rather, sit by while the service class is wearing masks and they are free of the requirement.
It's such an awful visual. It's been going on for so long. As a film critic, I get access to all the publicity stills. A movie comes out, you get like 10 to 12 pictures from the set. And often it's about 9 or 10 of the movie. Yeah. But then 1 or 2, it's the director working with the cast.
They're always going like this.
Yeah, doing that. Yeah.
It's always this pose, like this.
And
it's very epic.
Yes.
It's this. They got the mask on all the time.
And there's like this weird lighting because it's always with a flash. Mm-hmm. And so like the actor without the mask is in frame and they're lit well. And then the dreads of the industry are behind them. They're like dark and there's the mask on. And it's just
them and the extras. They're just kicking them around.
Yep.
He also said, I don't have to wear the mask. Why should they? Why should they have to be vaccinated? How's that not up to the individual? I shouldn't be talking about this. Beep. It makes me angry for the crew, the anarchist part of me. I don't feel that we should have forced testing, forced masking, forced vaccination. That's not a free country.
I love how he talks about it like Hollywood likes individuals.
Hollywood free country.
Hollywood hates individuals and freedom. So it's one of the things I love about watching anything in Hollywood where they promote the idea of freedom in the project. I was recently, I rewatched V for Vendetta fairly recently, and I have a V for Vendetta poster in my room, and it says freedom forever on the poster. And I just laughed at like whoever the graphic designer was in Hollywood, who was like probably giggling when he made this, like, we don't actually believe in this. Like that's not a real thing here. Also, I remember when IRL had Greg Ellis on a couple.
It wasn't that long ago. It was like a month ago. Maybe.
No, it was a couple of months ago. It was like 5 or 6 months ago now. It was a while ago. It was before winter. It was before winter.
Okay.
And he talked about how like the COVID has become like a second income stream. Like it's just become a business model in Hollywood. All of the testing, a lot of people are making a lot of money off of it. So it's very hard to walk away from something that makes you a ton of money and gives you a ton of power. The amount of people they've been able to box out of the industry. I know Matthew Marsden just posted a tweet recently talking about how he lost work because like they said,
he's not vaccinated.
He's not vaccinated. So it's like, They love it because it allows them to control. It's a weird soft communism.
Yeah.
In a way. Like it is.
It's also
a caste system.
Not just if you're not vaccinated, but if you refuse to disclose whether or not you are, because it's none of their business.
And I think there's a whole healthy undercurrent of fake vaccination cards that people are doing in Hollywood
Especially,
as well.
That would
in Hollywood.
See, somebody should make a movie about that. About the guy who developed the fake vaccine cards and sold them to actors. They love satire.
Yeah.
You can't be the one who develops it because it's so easy to fake. I don't know why they made it so easy to fake.
Here you go, Mr. Clooney. Here's yours. I made it extra special.
But they could make a movie about this. Like Hollywood is bad at it now.
The
but
Bubble was good.
They love. I thought I was the only one who liked The Bubble. Like
I didn't think it was some kind of masterpiece. I just thought, it was a pointed criticism of Hollywood on Hollywood.
I didn't see it. Pretty rough reviews, so I kind of steered clear.
I enjoyed the them satirizing themselves a little bit. In general, Hollywood isn't good at that anymore. Like they don't do self-satire very well, but they do it a lot.
It's acknowledging that the stars were exempt from following the same regulations that the crew was following.
And they kind of, that movie does a lot of the same type of satire and character work that like a Ryan Johnson film has in Knives Out, where they're just horrible people.
Yeah.
Like they're just horrible people, right? All the actors are bad people.
I just think if it's been long enough that you've made a movie about COVID, you should probably relax the protocols.
Hulu made a documentary about Astroworld like a week after Astroworld happened. Like they don't care.
They
like
went into turbo drive.
Yeah, they love it. Like any tragedy, they're like, let's get this made.
Or it was planned and they already had it in production.
That somebody can make a movie about that. It's about like a guy who's like setting up tragedy so he can make like this guy's documentaries come out a suspiciously quick amount of time.
X-Files theme.
Well, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
We're very close to that right now. We're gonna hear it shortly. Do you like the X-Files?
I never watched it. And, it's funny.
No?
My dad, God rest his soul, hated TV. He was of the age, well, movies are movies and TV is junk. That was the one show he watched.
Really?
Yeah.
It's funny too because that was a lot of people don't understand, especially if they're younger now, don't understand that there used to be a very big cultural divide between movies and television.
Oh,
television was considered second class, and
but now TV takes itself so seriously.
Yeah. I mean, because they get film level actors now.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was a
And
big
money.
deal when a film level actor did tell. Like one of the reasons it's not even that long ago that people made such a big deal about True Detective is because it had Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson.
Kevin Spacey took a huge risk. You want to do Netflix, House of Cards? Like, I got 2 Oscars here.
Yeah.
He did it and changed everything, really.
Yep, and it's so funny because I love those first seasons of House of Cards. And
He did other things that changed everything.
He did, unfortunately.
Whatever happened to him, right?
It could have been worse. Harvey Weinstein could have produced it. Like it could have been a little bit worse.
Kinda.
But I love those first seasons of House of Cards. I do have I love listening to people argue about his accent on that. Like one of my guilty pleasures is going to like clips and people like his accent's great, and somebody else like you've obviously never lived here. It's like it's a weird thing. Like I like the idea that there's people out there that are arguing about Kevin Spacey but not arguing about the other stuff. Like there's somebody who's like maybe he did that, maybe he didn't. What I really want to talk about is whether or not he actually got his accent down.
Yeah.
But also, Tim Robbins has basically affirmed. He says that Woody Harrelson is right, and
Time
I like
to end this charade at SAG-AFTRA. Like Fran Drescher is reading this tweet in bed, and she's like, never mind.
You have to do that in the nanny voice. I can't even do the Fran Drescher voice,
It's
but
too distinct.
It's very distinct.
Well, here's the problem. Like, kudos for Tim Robbins. He did this months ago. He first came out. Fran Drescher as well. Woody, I think he's really speaking common sense. A, where were they? And B, where is everyone else? They are really providing cover for everyone else to say, okay, that's it. Go flood Twitter with all your virtue signaling. It actually could make a difference. It actually could change things. Where is everyone else? I think they're still desperately scared.
I give the ones who speak out the earliest a little bit of leeway.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because it's like, look, a lot of people aren't getting information in the same place. Here it is. No!
Oh no, the volume's down.
I did check. It's that quote. It's literally that quote from his Saturday Night Live. And there's the scream from the Trump inauguration at the end there. But it's like a lot of those actors, like, look, if they're not getting information from the same source as anyone else, right? You understand that they're going to come to those conclusions later. A lot of people just have to go by what they see. What you see is what you get, and eventually it comes true.
This reply said, I'll do my best to not support anything that includes either one of you. You both should do some campaigning for Trump in 2024.
Really?
Trump is like the biggest pro-vaccine person there is too. So that's
well,
actually
only
really
it's not even about the vaccines. It's just defending his own honor, having introduced them. That's what it is about, really. But
that's amazing. It's amazing.
Mostly positive reactions.
But the thing about Tim Robbins, which was so encouraging, was that he put the pieces together himself. He compared what he was reading with what he saw. He went out and talked to people on the left and the right. He understood what was going on both in England and America, and just crunched the numbers.
It's like converting on your woke deathbed,
but it's
like
very
just in time.
Look, it's very like. How about this though? A lot of people like he's an actor. He's got a lot. He's made a lot of money. He's got his studio. I know his acting studio at the time was shut down because of regulations. He had the time to do the research and look into this. The average person just does it. Like they're working 10 hours a day. They got a family. Like a lot of people like in the media does this on purpose, wants it to be muddled and hard for you to get the information. Therefore it's harder for you to come to the proper conclusion.
And because he had a studio and had a company, he had there was more stakes for him.
Yeah, there's incentive there.
John Lovitz from Saturday Night Live, he became more right-leaning in recent years, in part because he was running a comedy club and he kind of got the business acumen down and realized what forces were out there. So that changes you.
Remember when Tom Cruise yelled at everyone for not wearing masks on the set of Mission Impossible?
I'm sorry. Someone in the chat, I just can't get this out of my head. They say you look like Ricky Gervais and Tom Cruise mixed together.
I've heard that over the
and
years.
I do see it.
You heard both of those?
And my kids say I look like Mr. Bean, which I think is a horrible thing to say.
I was going to say Tom Cruise, but I didn't want to see. The
resemblance is there for sure.
Hold the Tom Cruise up. I want to say like there's a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of it there.
I like
right
that.
there.
Well, when are you gonna light it?
Well, I don't want to use it. I want to save it.
You have to save it.
I want to say like
when Mission Impossible comes out.
Oh, maybe like when we review Mission Impossible.
It'll be a weird ritual.
Like I think we're getting into creepy territory out there.
Or when it wins Best Picture, Top Gun.
Yes,
as
if he should have. Like, look, I'm the world's. I get called a Scientology apologist for being a fan of Tom Cruise here.
It's hard because I think when you look at his personal life, is he a great dad? I don't know. Some headlines are a little suspicious for sure. Does he have a consistent love life? It seems a little bit out of control. I don't jump on couches. He does.
Yeah. That was like
but he's a movie star.
That was like 15 years ago now.
But he's a movie star.
Ago. That was like they're allowed to be weird every once in a while.
It seems like it was planned anyway.
Yeah. I just wrote a piece for thehill.com, which hopefully will run soon, about Tom Cruise, about how he's actually showing Hollywood, hey, this is what you do as a movie star. You're positive, you're uplifting, you're apolitical, you're just brimming with gratitude to your fans, and maybe you'll kind of coax some people back to theaters.
It's possible. I mean, like that's like him putting out the message before Top Gun Maverick about how he's like. My point is always, I'm like, look, does he mean any of this? I don't know.
I don't care.
I'm happy to be lied to.
Yes.
Like a little bit more about Top Gun Maverick, and even with all of our praise for it, I do think it was tamed a little bit compared to the first one.
Well, because they didn't mention Russia or any country.
Well, yes, but it was also like very syrupy, sweet, like very sentimental, very like heartstrings.
Well, I think that actually follows naturally because the character that is being portrayed as the lead is a lot older and is in the twilight of his career, so it fits for the movie to be that theme rather than at the beginning of his career when he's a hotshot.
And also the sex scene between him and Kelly McGillis was pretty steamy, I remember.
Yeah, which they added. Like that wasn't originally in the.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they added that. Like that was a big deal. And then the one they did for the new one is like they did it. They did it right. It's non-existent. They just
which is what we love.
They cut right by it. But I'm saying that it wouldn't have made sense. It makes sense in the first Top Gun because he's young. He's a hot shot. It's all about like this. The romance in that one is a little bit different.
Yeah.
This is a very different thing. It wouldn't have fit in that movie.
I agree. So. By the way, Hollywood is woke and they're very feminist and they care about people. And then, Kelly McGillis, she kind of got old. We can't have her in there.
We'll take
Jennifer Connelly.
Jennifer Connelly, she's still hot.
She's only 15 years younger, so we're good.
Kelly McGillis is in her 60s. She's 60.
Yeah.
She's about 60.
64, I think.
So she was older than Tom Cruise when that got made.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're never willing to admit that they're actually shallow.
Well, look, Jennifer Beals is like 60,
accepting.
and she looks like Jennifer Beals is 60 years old, and she was in Mandalorian. She was in one of the Star Wars. She looks fantastic for her age. aged.
I mean, there are certain
Pfeiffer
actors who have
really
aged
good in
really.
Quantumania.
Absolutely.
Like some of them just age. And look, would they want to admit it or not, it's a visual business and it's their job to look good on camera. Tom Cruise had an article in like Men's Health in the 90s where he said the best thing you can do as an actor is like stay in good shape because first of all, because you're in a front facing position. It's your job to look good on camera. It's not just models that need to look good, but also because it's good for your mental health and it will allow you to be better at auditioning, be able to handle if you're in good shape, right? You'll handle the rejection of not getting the role better if you're actually confident in the way
Unless
you
you're
look.
on roids, then you'll roid rage, and no one wants that.
There's a great line in the Honest trailer for Ghostbusters where they show it's like a shot of all the actors. It's like this is what movie stars look like in the 80s, and it's like Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray who are just flubs of just
But I see a lot of people point out examples. They're like, this is what was comically fat in the 80s, and it's just an average
person
guy who's like not ripped.
Well, and that's the thing. Like Hollywood now, like if you look at it, whether they want to admit it or not, like unless it's like the dad character on a sitcom, the guys are in good shape.
Yeah,
they are. They're like I will be forever like surprised like when I'm watching an episode of a show and a character's like shirt comes off. I'm like, that guy's in real he's like old. How is that guy still in such good shape? They have to stay in good shape. It's just part of their industry. So, but Tom Cruise, it's just funny because what you're pointing out is like he's pointing out things that everyone understands would work, but Hollywood just won't accept it. Like, be gracious towards your audience. Don't tell them how to live their lives and say like, look, in a time of heavy inflation and like uncertainty with your money, the fact that you will put any of it towards us is an honor to us.
It's exactly what he's saying. And then when Sally Field won a Lifetime Achievement Award recently, she said, well, I didn't really work hard because I'm white, and people in the crowd who are of color, they work much harder.
All of your struggles were so much greater than mine.
I like
as a white girl from Pasadena.
With a pug nose.
With a pug nose.
I like how she says that, like you know, if Willow Smith is in that audience, was her life growing up that much?
It was brutal.
She's saying that to an industry full of nepo babies. Like
Zoe Kravitz is in the audience.
Like, yeah, my life was very difficult being the daughter of Lenny Kravitz and what's her name, and John Bonet. What's her name? Lisa Bonet. John Bonet Ramsey? No, different Bonet.
Wow.
Not that one.
But I'm saying, like, the point is, like, it's an industry full of people that use their positions to get their kids in. So eventually,
fail upwards.
It's condescending, though,
in
to just assume that a person in the crowd who might be of color has had this struggle. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
Well, they didn't find it condescending. They were like, yes, Sally Field.
So self-aware.
It was so hard. We're growing up on this side of Carlsbad. It's very, very
love
difficult.
your white self-awareness.
They're just like, my house in Calabasas was much smaller than your house in Calabasas. How did I make it through it? I only had one butler, said Marlon Wayans' kids. Like, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't seen it yet, but Marlon Wayans has a new comedy special. I think it's on HBO Max, and it's a lot about the slap from all different sides. I think he knows all the players there too. So I want to check it out.
That's a family. Like, you know what I loved? I loved the 2019 Lethal Weapon TV show that nobody liked but me with Damon Wayans.
I've heard good things about that.
The first season is great.
Yeah.
The wife, the one who's married to Damon Wayans' character to Murtaugh in the show, she's great in season 1. She has kind of an abrupt, almost feminist kind of like in season 2, she's getting mad about things that she wouldn't have gotten mad about in season 1. But Clayne Crawford in that show is just incredible. Like that show is amazing. So, and considering who the original actors were in Lethal Weapon, to not make it like I'm a big fan of the underdog TV show based on movies that do well. I love the Limitless TV show that no one likes but me as well. Based on, you know, granted the Limitless movies didn't get a ton of sequels like Lethal Weapon did. But I like it when you can take an idea like that and it actually ends up succeeding, because the best who do that understand that it can't be an exact replica of the movie because the format is different. It has to be produced in a different way. So you have to rely on different aspects. Like in Lethal Weapon, the movie, you know, being a short form hour and a half, I don't remember if the movies were like an hour and a half, 2 hours long. When you have to make a show over a full season, they make it about Riggs's wife being was killed in the show, and that's a through line that follows throughout the whole show. And that's important, but that's harder to do in a movie when it's a shoot 'em up buddy cop movie. There's a little bit more. There's actually more emotional baggage there than there would be in the movie version of it, because the movie's supposed to lean harder into the comedy.
And they're making a new Lethal Weapon with the old crew.
Yep.
Danny Glover's got to be up there. I don't know how old he is.
He is.
And both those guys are, you know.
Talk about a political dude. I didn't. I was like looking. He is like borderline
socialist.
Social, yeah. Like I was like,
I don't think there's a border there.
I was gonna say borderline communist, but like I was like, but I love Angels in the outfield. Yeah. So like I don't really, he's always
good on screen.
He's a great actor. So that's fine. All right, do we get some super chats there? We got some.
Disco Jensen said, Will Smith used to be cool. His lowest point of suffering is having someone spit on him while in character proves why he's not now.
What would be a lower point for him? I'm trying to
getting
think
recorded in his own home by his wife.
Yeah, his wife doing that video in the hall where she's like recording him,
that
and he looks like he'd rather
be a lower
be.
point in life.
He did an M. Night Shyamalan movie that wasn't very good.
Which one did he do?
After Earth, I think.
Did he do?
When he started with the sun.
I was. Oh yeah, yeah. Everyone hates that movie. But
it wasn't the happening bad, but it wasn't good.
But he, I'm trying to think of maybe that is the worst. You're probably right there. Everything else that he's put out is like, at the very least, like a lot of people didn't like Focus, but I thought Focus was fine.
Yeah, it was
like
okay.
In general. Did you see Gemini Man?
Yeah, it was okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah,
okay. All right.
Sanity Claus said Will Smith went full Jack Murphy with his career. Never go full Jack Murphy.
He should grow the beard. He should grow the Jack Murphy beard.
Expert Error said, party time. I'm so old I remember when Will Smith represented sanity in Hollywood.
I mean,
Did
he? I don't know about
he was
just insane Hollywood.
Like, he was stable. He was a superstar. Yeah. He could do comedy. He could do action. Yeah. He could do dramatic roles. Cool as a cucumber, good looking. I mean, he was everything you want in Hollywood.
Cool as a cucumber.
And at a time where, like, one of the things that I push back on a lot is, like, well, people that don't like race swapping in characters, I say, look, it worked back in the day because when they would race swap characters, they would get an actor with an amazing name, with name recognition. Yeah. Will Smith race swapped as Deadshot, or any time they've done it with Denzel Washington and Man on Fire, Nick Fury with Samuel L. Jackson. They get actors that everybody likes, so you're a lot more forgiving because you're like, look, I don't necessarily agree with the idea, but I love Denzel Washington, so I'm okay with it. Yeah. I'm not sure if I agree with the idea, but Will Smith is great as an actor, so I'm okay with it. He built that reputation for himself. He did that on his own, and you can't take those years away from him, but maybe he needs to take a step back and like just maybe send Jada to Europe for a year. Maybe send Jada overseas and
she would love nothing better.
There's so much love in this room for Jada Pinkett Smith.
Hey, I was trying to think. I was like, what's my favorite Jada Pinkett Smith role? I'm like, when she died in Scream 2. Ooh. That's not like, I don't know if that's my favorite, but she was all right in Gotham. She was all right in Gotham as Fish Mooney.
VS said, which is better, skiing or snowboarding?
I do not know. I played hockey, so I wasn't allowed to have, like, my family didn't have the money to do two expensive hobbies. I was allowed one expensive hobby. Hockey was my expensive hobby. Oof. I couldn't afford to. My brother skied. So, Mary, either or?
I haven't tried either, so I don't know.
You should try them.
I live in Colorado. I don't do either. So I'm completely an outcast.
It's something where you have to like be raised.
I think
doing either one of them.
Somebody is talking about Biel in the chat. I'm not talking about that's Jessica Biel, right? I'm talking about Jennifer Beals. It's a different person.
Flashdance.
Right. She had this underrated show called Chicago Code with Delroy Lindo that only went like 12 episodes. That I would have. It was about corruption. Like he was a corrupt alderman in Chicago. And now they wouldn't do that because they would never allow a black actor to portray a corrupt alderman in Chicago, as if we don't already know that Chicago's always been corrupt. But yeah, Jennifer Beals and Jessica Beals are not the same thing. And one's Beal, one's Beals, and they're not spelled the same.
Bert Fegg said, awesome on IRL last night, Mary. Well done. Thank you. I feel like I went too far in some parts, but yeah, I'm glad you appreciate it. Nick James, thank you for the sticker. Potatoes for Seamus said, Brett, tell me about the Twilight poster that you have in your room next to the Lauren Boebert skating poster.
Look, if there's a Lauren Boebert skating poster, I'm going to need somebody to...
I'm going to need a
link to that somewhere. That would be fantastic. I don't have a Twilight poster. Maybe I can... maybe I'll get Mary a Twilight poster.
You got me a Twilight blanket already.
Yeah, for what was that, for Christmas?
I think so. Yeah.
It's like what would Mary like? Mary loves Twilight. We'll get her a Twilight.
Wait, what was the competition? Was it Team Edward or Team Jacob? What's
I have a nuanced opinion about this.
No, that's unacceptable. It's either Team 1 or Team 2. Come on.
Okay, it's Team Edward for Bella. But like for any normal female who has a personality, probably Team Jacob.
That is nuanced.
Because Bella is just kind of a blank slate.
She is.
You know, that's why she would need Edward.
You know, Taylor Lautner's wife was Team Edward.
She was, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Her name is
That's
also
funny.
Taylor Lautner.
Yeah, Taylor Lautner married a woman named Taylor Lautner.
Well,
married
not
Taylor,
Lautner, but
there's
yes.
she's
Now
now
she
Taylor
is
Lautner.
also
So they're both
Wow.
Taylor Lautner.
Yeah,
That's a
talk
sign.
about a
Yeah. Just saying.
narcissist.
It's like Boy Called Sue, but like.
But she goes by Tay Tay.
Let's go. Let's do one more, and then we will move on.
Wait, that reminds me. He also dated Taylor Swift. He wanted to make Taylor Swift into Taylor Lautner.
He's got a Taylor fetish.
He does.
He goes on to like dating apps and just he like searches by Taylor. Like he's like, can I search by name?
Yeah. It was like his dream for years. Sketch Therapy said, "Catch Me If You Can too. Vax Me If You Can."
Oh, they're like running. It's like that cover.
Catch
where
Me
like,
If You Can was a great movie. I
Right.
love that movie.
All right, we are moving on, guys. All right, so speaking of Hunger Games, we were just talking about Hunger Games a little bit ago. Hunger Games actress Jenna Malone says that she was S-word assaulted by someone she worked with. This was when making Hunger Games, not the prequels that are being made now, but in the original. She says, it says in the Instagram post on Tuesday, Jenna Malone posted a picture of herself in France taken shortly after filming the Hunger Games movies. Even though in this time in Paris was extremely hard for me, was going through a bad breakup, and also was S-word assaulted by someone I had worked with, she wrote. Does it bother you guys that she doesn't name the person? I hate to make that to bring that up. Does that matter?
People pointed that out in the comments, and they were like, why does he just get to, they assumed it's a man, by the way, why does he just get to, walk free and have no consequences? And she said, that's not true. I used restorative justice to allow healing and accountability and growth with the other person. It was a hard process, but one I truly believe helped me through some of the hardest parts of the grief. And she said she's not ready to talk about the specifics, but she said that this is like not the norm right now, like with Me Too and all of that. Yeah. She said, what led me there was feeling not held by outing someone using the traditional cancel culture that has been created. I don't fully see how the criminal justice system could fully repair my healing, though I do believe it can help in many ways. It all led me to using restorative justice, basically a system of repairing harm, to speak to the other party involved.
We have that. It's called lawsuits.
I mean, I can see what she means. It's like, is finding criminal justice the same as like actual justice? And like,
it is if the guy's going to do it again.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, if she is finding genuine peace out of this process, then that is ultimately what we want. If someone suffers something and they're feeling better and they're in a better place, that is the ultimate goal.
I mean, isn't the ultimate goal also to get for these crimes? It's to stop them from doing it again.
It depends on the severity of the crime.
Yeah,
as well.
Absolutely too.
And in a crime like this, in an industry like this,
and the way people interpret things, like we just can't get a straightforward story from Hollywood.
Nope.
Like all of the cases that actually go to court, like Marilyn Manson, for instance, end up being fabricated, at least in part, and then the ones that remain behind the curtain, that's what has actually happened and should be brought to account, but that's never going to happen.
Too much money.
So what is her, I mean, again, we mentioned Will Smith before, so she put this out. It's on her Instagram page. Yep. No one forced her, so she decided now is the time I want to share this information.
Probably
share
because of the new Hunger Games movie that's coming out soon, right?
But is she going to be in that though, or I don't know. I didn't even know if she is.
I need somebody to define restorative justice to me. Like,
it's okay. This article did provide a definition. Let me find it.
Like, is it supposed to be something where like they go and talk it out? Like,
it says when victims communicate with their offender to explain the impact of the assault.
I guess on one hand, as somebody who like wants the state involved in as little as possible, I could understand the appeal of something like this because F the state. But on the other hand, it's like just because the dude said the right things to you does not mean he's not going to turn around and do the same thing again to someone else.
Got away with it.
If anything, but
turning a blind eye is why Hollywood had this specific problem. Like Harvey Weinstein got away with it for so long.
Yeah.
And he was like not even just doing this in the shadows. It was out in the open. Like we were just talking about Paris Hilton. She revealed that she was followed into a women's restroom by Harvey Weinstein at Cannes Film Festival when she was like 19. He was like banging on her stall door. Yeah. And saying like, you want to be a star? Like it almost sounds fake, but he fake. Literally did it.
Yeah. She said it.
She said it. I didn't get any secondhand collaboration. Like when I read that story.
Well, I'm saying like his strategy across all these different accounts is the same thing. You should come up to my hotel room and we'll look at scripts.
Like the part about him, they're like, and it was his party, and he was pulled out by security guards. Yeah. As he's saying like, this is my, like it sounded like something party. That it sounds like a movie scene to me, like, and I hate to question it, but it's like it's not like he wasn't plenty guilty of plenty of awful things that are easily.
Hey,
like,
don't besmirch his character.
Yeah, okay? I know, right? Like, but I'm also not willing to just take people's words in an industry that puts too much emphasis on power through victimhood. I'm not going to just take your word for it. And that whole Paris Hilton thing was just a huge trauma dump, anyways.
It was the whole interview. Did you see it?
I read about it. And also, everyone knew. Everyone knew. There are so many stories for years and years and years.
And she said that. She said everyone there knew that he was a creep, but they just didn't. They looked away.
A friend of mine sent me a YouTube clip of someone cut together all the thanking Harvey Weinstein moments from the Oscars. And it is, there's a lot of them. But also, several of them said, your nickname is the Punisher, and it just reads so creepily now.
Like it's a laughing matter.
Exactly. And then one of them was Gwyneth Paltrow, and she had her own run-in with him. Yep. Yeah. So I don't know if that was before or after. I suspect it might have been after.
Was it Jason Priestley that punched him? Not Jason Priestley.
Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt
threatened him.
There was another one who was the guy who was.
I don't know if anyone straight out punched him.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
There was somebody else that I have to see if I can.
And I know that Jennifer Newsom recently testified about her experience with Harvey Weinstein, and I won't get into the graphic details, but it's just like it seems like she's just trying to be part of the bandwagon. He got a longer sentence on multiple counts.
Was it 16 more years then, or
they just added? No, it was Jason Priestley. It says,
oh wow, okay.
yeah. It says that he punched Harvey Weinstein in the face in It says it revealed in a 2017 interview. He revealed that he punched Harvey Weinstein in the face. He explained on Twitter that Weinstein had asked him to leave a Golden Globes party hosted by Miramax, the studio Weinstein co-funded. As Priestley prepared to exit, a heated argument ensued over whether Weinstein had actually asked Priestley to depart. The studio honcho grabbed Priestley's arm and was squeezing it as he suggested they go outside and talk about this. Wow. He socked him in the. I like that he didn't do it to defend a woman. He did it because he didn't want to leave a party. Like that.
Yeah.
He's
true hero.
He's like, hey man, there's free drinks. I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere. You're like, you're not kicking me out.
Hey, do you know who I was? I mean,
who were you?
So on the other side of the coin, we've got, Hollywood's grandpa, Bill Murray.
Yes.
Who I will continue to say is innocent of everything but being, kind of a whack job, kind of volatile.
Whack job for
He has anger management issues at best. Mm-hmm. Okay.
The PR agency would soften that to quirky. He's quirky.
Yeah.
So there was some unverified news that he made inappropriate gestures toward a female on set of Being Mortal, Aziz Ansari's comeback from Me Too jail. And unlucky for Aziz Ansari, they stalled production and everyone was wondering who it was, and people thought it was Keke Palmer.
Yeah.
Because there was this story that he had touched her hair, pulled one of her ponytails or something on set as a joke that she definitely didn't think was funny.
Uh-huh.
But also she's kind of a millennial diva, self-proclaimed, so who knows if she was just overreacting and he's just being Bill Murray. So then it came out that it was actually a production assistant, unnamed, stayed anonymous. This is the thing. I think that he was severely misunderstood. They were all wearing masks on set, and it was, still in COVID times, very strict regulation that they had to have masks on. And he was, doing his part, slowing the spread. And he was standing next to a bed on set with this production assistant. And he started with his mask on, kissing her body like through the mask, and then started like making out with her through the masks. They were both wearing the masks, and he like straddled her on the bed, and it, like, I'm not saying it's appropriate.
It's hilarious.
Obviously, if this happened to me, I would be terrified. But you can tell from his perspective, his like old guy sense of humor.
Very old, very unaware of the industry, of the way things are now.
It's like somewhere in there, he does have the self-awareness left to know he's making fun of himself.
Yeah.
He's making fun of like how gross he is, how out of touch he is. He's making fun of the absurdity of these masking protocols and like how they are a barrier to actual intimacy. He's making a joke out of the idea that he would like be in any type of scenario.
Perhaps
like
you
this
should
with a
do that
production
with somebody
assistant.
you're on a first name basis with.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I totally understand why in his like, you know, deranged cataracts,
Old
like
person brain.
addled brain.
Yeah.
Well, he's only like
he
70.
thought
He's
this
not like
was funny.
92. I mean, he should know.
No,
Really
yeah,
should
of
know.
course.
And, you know, I think he gets away with anything and everything and has for years because he's Bill Murray. He's very funny. He's like an icon. And I think he pulls off a lot of shtick.
I don't like the quirky for profit.
quirky shtick?
I don't like he got behind a bar and tended bar at some random place. It's such a listicle article thing that people make on the websites.
But I mean, I think that's more innocent than this. I mean, if Bill Murray crashes your wedding, I think that's like the coolest thing, even if you're not a fan.
So
He paid out about $100,000.
She got like,
so she's fine.
Remember COVID? Remember when we talked about like COVID songs and like there was Vax That Ass Up? Somebody should have done Kiss Me Through the Mask, like Kiss Me Through the Phone.
Oh,
So
that's
if
genius.
somebody wants to make Kiss Me Through the Mask and then do it to Bill Murray with the mask on, that would be incredible.
Okay, this might have been an older episode for you, but did you do anything with the cringe with the Jimmy Fallon singing the Omicron song?
That was just creepy.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
because
When
that-
was that?
that was
like 6-7 months ago.
2021?
Yeah, it was.
No, it was more recent.
It wasn't.
It was fairly recent. There was before that was the other one. The other guy did the one with the big needles and
Stephen Colbert did the dancing needles,
the dancing needles. That was the truly dystopian.
Like as
one.
if nurses dancing on TikTok wasn't enough.
That's right.
You had to rub salt into the wound.
But the Fallon one, he's like gesticulating, and I could see his soul dying inside. You can really see it. Like
I mean, if there's any
you can
left
frame by frame it.
in there.
One of my biggest compliments of Hollywood is like who are we talking about? Ariana DeBose, like
yeah.
who did like
At the
she did the really
BAFTAs,
bad
doing the-
performance at the BAFTAs.
Angela Bassett did the thing.
And she does this really cringe performance, but she gives it her all. And in Hollywood, you have to learn, you have to have the skill of being able to do something you know is unbelievably stupid and
you
look
show
like
up,
you want to
they
be
tell
there.
you exactly what you have
Yeah,
to do,
and
and you
commit.
just do it.
And
Commit to the bit.
and they look like they want to be there, even though you can tell that they get backstage and they literally want to vomit from how stupid whatever they were doing was.
So, Mary, when did Jimmy Fallon lose his soul? Because I suspect you might pinpoint it. I'm just spitballing here.
Oh, I don't know. TDS was definitely a factor, but like I can just tell that every time he laughs, it's a fake laugh, and it's coming from like just emptiness inside.
Did you see that Jay Leno gave the crew of like all the nurses and the doctor who saved his face, he gave them all a trip to the Bahamas.
Oh my gosh.
He brought them on stage and like gave them a trip to the Bahamas.
He looks younger now.
He does. He's like, could you do some Botox while you're in there? It's like he doesn't need anything in the chin, but you know, around the cheeks, he's be fine.
Like the Bahamas.
It's like he's still a pretty down to earth.
He seems like a mensch. He seems like a really good guy.
Like he just seems like a very from a generation where everymen were encouraged you were encouraged to be an everyman in Hollywood. But I think you're right. I think the Bill Murray one was like, to be fair, if I was that girl, cha-ching, do it. I don't care. Like he can afford it. He can afford
guys,
to make $100,000 mistakes.
The point is, being mortal is never going to be made simply because of this incident.
Nope.
And I feel like it was like a bit misinterpreted because now it's going to be referred to without all the details in all of these articles saying like he sexually assaulted somebody.
Yeah.
That could mean anything.
And by
but
the way,
he was just making a joke at his own expense.
the Bill Murray movie is gone, dead, not going to move forward. Rust, let's just keep shooting.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah,
how
we're
does
good.
Hollywood come up with these standards? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, it's technically that's not what it is. It's that they are unable to find a producer for Being Mortal. Alec Baldwin's just going to keep producing the movie, so it doesn't matter. He's like, look, I will not let rain nor sleet nor dead of person stop me from making this movie. He will do whatever he wants to do because he's Alec Baldwin, because he's a psychopath.
Yeah, I mean, there are also all of these other stories about Bill Murray being like, yeah, just a whack job. Like Gina Davis in her memoir talked about him like literally chasing after her with a massage device called the Thumper.
He dumped Seth Green into a garbage can.
He didn't dump him. He just dangled
he held him over a garbage can because he had the temerity.
Get the facts right.
To sit on. He sat on the arm of a couch.
On SNL.
So he picked him up and he hung him over a garbage
and he's
can.
yelled at a lot of people. He's been,
What About Bob was a tough set, I heard.
With
him and Dreyfuss.
Can you imagine, like Richard?
He threw an ashtray at him and missed. Like he was only 2 feet away.
Even knowing like just their public personas, you can tell they would never get along. There's too much ego, and that movie is too hard to pin down.
Yeah.
Like we talk a lot about movies that are hard to market. Like we talk about Jennifer's Body being a really hard movie to market because of whether it's Diablo Cody movies or these movies that they're not action thrillers, but they're not this. What About Bob? There's an amazing YouTube video where they take out all the funny sound effects in What About Bob, and it's just a horror movie. It's just a scary movie because it's literally just a family being stalked by this creepy dude. Yeah. What About Bob is amazing, but it's like I mean that would have been like what 93 or something like that. So like Richard Dreyfuss is like, look, I just got done with Beethoven and I got all this clout now. I love it. Yeah. But look, Bill Murray, I'm not a fan of the shtick, but I don't know if he necessarily maybe he should have just produced this movie himself. He's got the money.
I love his quips. Like, I'm gonna throw you across a parking lot.
As if he's got the body strength.
Of course not.
It's funny if he puts them on like a cart and pushes them across the room.
He has plans.
Or
like everyone hates you. You are tolerated. So many people need to hear that.
In the chat, somebody said, Mark Reed says Thomas Sowell loved What About Bob. I'm gonna need confirmation on that because that is the greatest thing I've ever now. All I want I want somebody to draw a picture of Thomas Sowell watching What About Bob.
What were you gonna say?
So does Bill Murray, is his career gone?
No, he was just in a market.
Because he was in Ant-Man. But I feel like I don't know, I feel like there's a bit of a pause on his career right now.
I mean, he's old. Like what do they need? Like what are they making in Hollywood that they need him for? He'll have a streaming career if anything. Like what movies do they need Bill Murray for?
They're making a new Ghostbusters, but I think the old crew is gone.
I think they'll keep Ernie Hudson.
Oh, really?
I bet you because they like the idea is that like Zedmore is like funding the new Ghostbusters. I think is what they were talking about. So you can keep, and I love Ernie Hudson.
I do too.
He is another one of those actors. It's just he's very magnanimous and he's got a great voice. He's got a great voice. And look, for Bill Murray, he doesn't need to act anymore.
I know he doesn't need it, but he still wants to act. I'm sure. Does his career? I mean, should that negate his career? Should he be gone?
No, I mean, I think then people just have to be aware that you're working with a dude that's hard to work with, but that's not anything new in Hollywood.
And he has to be chastened at this point. I mean, to go through what he went through.
I mean, we were just talking about Sam Levinson, who is way worse than Bill Murray, and a lot of people in Hollywood, and he's given a blank check basically at HBO Max, and is just like going buck wild with it. I got a worse
craziest
thing.
What if they made like a Euphoria with Bill Murray? That's
Euphoria, but old people.
Old people. It's like, instead of high school, it's in a nursing home, and it's
they're playing 70-year-olds, but they're actually 80.
Yeah. They age them down by making them 10 years. Or no, they're 70-year-olds playing 80-year-olds. That's
Weren't there stories about how there's a lot of STDs in nursing homes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mary has strong feelings on this. Do you not?
I mean, I just feel like, keep them away from each other.
Do not allow them to
Especially
interact.
if they have like mental deterioration. It's just like not right. I don't know. Yep. I don't like that.
All right, we got a couple super chats there.
Sketch Therapy said, Touchy Subjects said, I never got vaxxed even working on set for Netflix.
Ooh. Nice.
You never told us that you did that. Derek Null said Mel Brooks was the conscious maybe conscience of Hollywood, Will Smith was the swagger. They might as well both be dead.
Didn't they just release? Didn't they just
History of the World Part 2 is coming soon.
But there were like reviews about it that were not very kind.
I read a couple of reviews and it felt like they were holding back.
No.
And I've got a screening link to it. I've been dreading it because I want it to be good. I fear it's going to be terrible, but I'm like, oh.
Do you feel like because you have a countercultural perspective, like on the whole, you are given less, early access privileges?
No, I get pretty. I'm treated well by the different studios. I get access. I get screenings. I get screening links. So I think for the most part, I've dodged that bullet. I think there have been a few times where I clearly haven't. I've had interviews that were kind of yanked down from under me at the last minute. But overall, it's been okay, What they need to do, Mary, is they need to lean into it and like give Mary the links so that they can get the review from Mary that's just like really, really
just tears it apart.
That's
just like, but like lean into it and prove that you've got a spine about you, like in the way that Hollywood, like the idea is like the later you see an embargo lifted on a movie, the worse it usually is because they don't want the reviews coming out. Do that for everyone but Mary and let Mary's reviews come out early. That way they can be like, look, like either you agree with Mary and you're like, yeah, that movie's going to suck anyways, in which you were probably never going to see it anyways, or they disagree with Mary and they're like, I'm definitely going to go see this movie.
I'm the person who hates everything here on this podcast.
They should lean into it and then,
hard to please.
Yes.
By the way, one of my personal pet peeves is that whole first reactions to MCU X,
but not and it's always like them
always
walking
positive.
To their car.
It's always always like oh, this is the greatest thing, and then the real reviews come in like it's
well, like for me, like I when we go to movies, I come out of movies, my general idea is like, it was fine, it was good. I don't actually like know how to verbalize my issues with it until later, because you're still riding off of the emotional ride of being at the movie, and that's through how they shoot things, the music. Like it is a visual experience that touches you in a way emotionally, like whether good or bad. Like you're riding the emotional high of being at the movie, so it takes a little bit of time for me to verbalize. I have a much easier time figuring out my complaints about television in the moment than I do movies.
Interesting.
I didn't like the Batman.
I didn't either.
I didn't like the Batman. I thought it was self-indulgent. And like that was one of the rare examples I can think of in the last year or two where even as I'm watching it, I'm like, ugh.
When I exit a press screening, though, there are press people outside, and they have a little notepad, and they say, "What'd you think of the movie?" And it's frustrating because if I didn't like it, I feel like a jerk if I'm saying, "Yeah, it sucked." But they want to hear the truth. But also, like you said, sometimes it takes a while to kind of filter out what you really think, what you like.
That's why they want your initial reaction, because they're hoping that it will be better off the cuff.
Maybe. And then they give it back to the studio, so that's where they do it. But.
All right, let's hold off and we will come back. All right, guys, we're moving on. So earlier this week, was it this week or last week that we talked about James Bond? It was at the beginning of this week, right?
On Monday.
So earlier this week we talked about James Bond books, the Ian Fleming books, getting censored by the publisher. We've also talked about Roald Dahl has been censored recently, and obviously there was all the stuff with Dr. Seuss a couple of years ago. 1984 is getting written from a woman's perspective. I don't know why that matters, but it's happening. Well, Amazon Kindle is now forcing censored media on its customers. Essentially, what they're doing here, guys, is you're going to get a book, and if you downloaded it back in the day, you'll be all right. But if you re-download it, you will suddenly realize that aspects of it are going to be cut.
Here's a tweet from a dissatisfied customer. They said, "I downloaded my ebook of Matilda, which I bought a few years ago, to see if Joseph Conrad was still there." They mentioned Joseph Conrad as an author that Matilda admires, but now that he is considered problematic, they have removed mention of both him and Rudyard Kipling from the abridged version. And he was. I closed it, deleted it, and downloaded and opened it again. Joseph Conrad was gone. I was not given a choice as to whether I wanted the updated version.
I heard the new version actually inserts Lena Dunham's name in there.
Yeah.
I haven't heard her in a while.
Even if it's not historically accurate, it doesn't really matter.
Wait, isn't she? I thought she was canceled for a while. Wasn't Lena Dunham canceled for a while?
Well, there was this scandal about her assaulting her sister or something.
What?
Oh yeah. So oh god, it's
I don't know if
it's so complicated. That was in one of her memoirs.
Yeah.
And it talked about, I mean, I think you have to go read it to get these specifics. I don't want to screw it up. But her interacting with her younger sister in a way that seemed really weird.
Right.
She also claimed that she was sexually assaulted. And that John Nolte from Breitbart did an investigative story.
We love John Nolte here.
He's great.
We love John Nolte here.
And he went to the college where she was accusing it from happening.
Yeah.
And he tore the whole story apart. And I think they had to backpedal a bit. Plus, then she put out a line of plus-sized women's clothing.
That makes perfect sense to me.
No, it wasn't inclusive enough because it wasn't allowing for people of significant size.
Oh, so it was only
significant size.
Oh, so the idea was
That's
like
one way to word
she
it.
was big. She was big, but not big. Like she didn't go big enough.
Yes, she got.
In the modern terminology, Lena Dunham is considered mid-size.
Yeah, so she was just
Average.
pummeled by that.
That Fatty McFatterson is not mid-sized.
She's average, Brett.
She's average.
Stop.
That's fine. Look,
this is because Joseph Conrad is known for novella Heart of Darkness, which was highly regarded as a critique of European colonial rule in Africa. So he's critiquing European colonialism, but he's not doing it the right way because they believed he referred to African people in racially ignorant ways. So they've not even replaced him.
It wasn't even in the book. It was a reference to a writer who then in other books that he's written.
Who Matilda admires.
Yeah.
There's nothing about his work. There's no quotation.
I gotta say, that
work.
sensitivity reader, that person gets a raise.
How do you feel about sensitivity readers?
That person did their job. You know, I think many people are completely unaware that they're existing. They're working behind the scenes. They're transforming art. And I think now with these high-profile cases, like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah.
So the average person doesn't realize that. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I read this op-ed about sensitivity readers for our James Bond segment, and it's from the perspective of someone who's recruited onto a team of them. So she started off as just an ordinary editorial assistant at one of the top publishers, but she didn't name which one it was. Mm-hmm. You can assume that all of them are doing this, though. So she was recruited by this older boss of hers, who was like a middle-aged white woman who's surprised. And when she was asked, why did you recruit me? Like, I don't know if I have much to offer here. Because I'm a white female.
Yes. Well, yes, of course.
Her boss explained, well, it's because you have a history of alcohol abuse. And you know about mental health issues and stuff like this. Like, she's been open about this. But I mean, if there are any other traumas that you've gone through, then, you know, feel free to disclose them. It'll help your perspective in writing. And,
wow.
Like
that's a resume enhancement.
It's a resume
I beat
enhancement.
My kids. I'm an alcoholic. I tend to steal things from the office.
But she said that when she started like talking more with other sensitivity readers on her team, they were all under 30 and they were recruited specifically because of traumas that they had experienced that would equip them to look for cultural insensitivities and missteps in other people's writing.
That's kind of genius in a really wicked, terrible way.
Like, oh, one of them has struggled with eating disorders.
Right.
One of them has self-harmed before. All of this other stuff.
It's weird that you would. It's weird that you would. The idea in the past used to be that you wrote and made movies for the majority, not for the minority, right? Mm-hmm. You make it for a broad reach of audiences, and you certainly don't do it based on their neuroses or their past. And it's also telling
those sensitivity readers, especially ones in their 20s who probably don't know any better, that their value is in their trauma coins that they can spend on
trauma
things.
coins. Yeah. Oh my gosh!
Wow,
that's the next crypto.
That's my next. I'm going to start. I'm making trauma coin. If we're not hit coin, I'm going to make hit coin. Let's look. For me, this will go worse down the line because we're only going to get more sensitive as a culture. Like, the most interesting part about the James Bond one was the removing of ethnicities, because to the person reading it, they view it in a way that somebody did not look at it in the 50s and 60s. In the 50s and 60s, especially from an author's perspective, it's merely a means of helping you visualize what someone looks like. When you read these things now, you almost never see mention of ethnicity unless it's in the mix of some type of article or some type of political statement that's using it in a attack set, right?
Yeah.
Like they're using it to either attack someone's ethnicity or they're using it in the terms of some type of these social justice movements and things like this. It's done through that. So it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
It will not get better. And as these businesses become more corporatized and as the conglomerates gobble up the smaller publishers, I know that a bunch of smaller publishers have gone the way of have been gobbled up by the bigger ones. Like what? It's like Random House and like one other publishing house.
Yeah.
Simon
Yeah.
Schuster.
Like that's like those are like the big ones now. Like as there's less and less to choose from, you're going to have to go to boutique publishers to do this, but the big IPs aren't going there. They're not, those aren't ever going to be read at those small publishers. You're going to be reading about 1984 is going to be owned by a larger conglomerate.
I just did a podcast and I talked about comedians against comedy. Yeah. It's something I riff on social media. And David Cross was talking about how kind of critiquing the Dave Chappelle's and people like him and saying, why do you have to tell that joke? You're going to upset some people. Just get rid of it. Yeah. And how one time I guess he encountered a woman who didn't like one of his jokes and they went back and forth and he described it and he defended it. And it's like, so if your joke offends somebody, you're out, you pull it. I mean, it's such a craven response. It's just disgusting. And, someone will always get triggered. I mean, my wife had cancer 2 years ago. So when I read about cancer now, I am triggered in a sense because I've had that experience. So do we not mention cancer when you talk about anything from humor to movies or anything? Because it's going to affect me.
The response is like, sell your experience of trauma so you can become a sensitivity reader.
Well, I mean, it's sort of the multi-layer of what's going on. That's sort of an oddly capitalistic way to look at that. But yeah.
People made that, like somebody made that comment when we were reviewing Cocaine Bear, because I was joking about how much I loved Cocaine Bear. And it's like, they said, how could you, as somebody who's in recovery, I'm in recovery, how could you joke about drugs? I said, look, part of going through trauma like that, as much as I hate that word, is that you have to learn to be able to laugh at certain aspects of things. Otherwise, you'll never live it down. I don't watch Requiem for a Dream, but I understand that that's not that movie's fault. That movie displaying the ugly reality of drug use and the hopelessness. If anything, I applaud the artistic sense to be able to capture the hopelessness of drug use.
People have no concept of like your responsibility for finding your line. Yeah. Like what crosses your line. You are responsible for it.
Exactly.
The people putting out the media are not responsible for deciding that for you.
You as the consumer are responsible for that.
If you don't want to watch Requiem for a Dream, but you do want to watch, I don't know, Breaking Bad, that's on you to make the decision. They shouldn't be in the power to even make that decision for you.
We're treated like children across the board. We have to be protected from everything.
It's also the death to nuance too, because like I said, there's things involving drugs that I can watch that don't. The Wire is my favorite show of all time. There's most of season 1. Most of it has to do with the drug trade. That doesn't bother me. I can watch Breaking Bad. I can watch a lot of this stuff. It doesn't bother me. But Requiem for a Dream is about the specific, the hopelessness of it from the addict perspective. I can't watch that. But that's not anybody else's responsibility. That's my responsibility. And to expect them to not make it. Like imagine like somebody who has that story to tell. A lot of the people in recovery, the people who go into work in addiction counseling are addicts in recovery. Likewise, plenty of people that are going to make great art about drugs in recovery are going to be fellow addicts themselves. Are they not to create their art now?
We've given people as much help as possible in terms of deciding what is appropriate for them to watch. There's a rating system, and at times there are like epilepsy warnings. Other than that, you're on your own.
Yeah.
There's plenty of epilepsy warnings on stuff.
I have a reader of mine, and I think he had some cancer issues in his family. And occasionally he'll DM me and say, hey, there's a new movie coming out. I want to see it, but are there any cancer issues in the movie? And I say, there's none, or beware, there's something.
Yeah.
I mean, but also,
or I look at parents'
we've got an internet. You can go Google stuff and you can see a rating. You can get reviews. There's special websites that get really in deep into the details of exactly what's in a movie: profanity, drug use, violence, sexuality, everything. It doesn't take much to do that. So just read up and act accordingly.
It's funny too, because I could still watch the movies. I just choose not to. But it is interesting where there's people who just don't want to. I'm better for having seen it.
I just wouldn't watch it again. If I read the name like if I read Joseph Conrad, I just I go into a cold sweat and
pearls.
I can see the walls closing in on me, and I start hyperventilating.
The words start to get blurry.
It's Amazon. It's Jeff Bezos' personal responsibility to prevent that from happening.
Thank you,
Jeff Bezos is my daddy.
Thank you, Jeff.
That's the same company that took out the created equal Clarence Thomas in his own words that was streaming on the platform. They yanked it. They actually yanked it.
We hate something called created equal.
Right. Yeah. They yanked it during
that guy.
They yanked it during Black History Month, by the way. And also,
of course they did.
There was a movie about Michael Brown and the Ferguson case around 2015. And it was by a director named Eli Steele, and his father, Shelby Steele, a very influential writer, was the star of the movie. And they submitted it to Amazon, and Amazon said, "Oh, I'm sorry, this is too junky a film. It doesn't really match the quality of the entertainment that we share on our platform." Now, if you go on Amazon, you can find the worst movies of all time in a heartbeat. So that was nonsense. There was some blowback, and Amazon said, "Oh, my bad," and they put it back on.
Well, that's their hope, right? It's like that's just the first layer of censorship, right? They would have always been willing to like put it back on if it need be, but they were just hoping that they wouldn't need to.
It's the unannounced changes that really.
But I think that goes back to the James Bond situation, because was it 2 years ago the Dr. Seuss books went away?
Yep.
And what happened? Was there an outcry? Not really. We just kind of shrugged our shoulders and said, well, that's just the way it goes.
A couple of people commented and made a couple of comments on the internet, and that was about it.
But with the doll situation, I think there was much more blowback immediately.
There was way more about Mr. Potato Head. It's so funny, too, because I've been watching this show from 1996 called The Pretender with Michael T. Weiss, and there's this great episode where they're like joking about, like, he's like, Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head. And I'm listening to these actors talk about stuff that are now controversial topics. And you're just like, if you could understand the
potato
the idiocracy that we now live in.
And he was eating M&Ms at the time, which is even more forbidden.
He probably was. It's like, I mean, I love watching old movies and see them mention stuff like men and women are different. Like there's this great example of Alec Baldwin saying this on a show called Las Vegas, where he goes, men and women are different. Everybody laughs. Like, it's so silly that he would have to point out something that everybody knows, and then fast forward like less than a decade, and we've like, in the world is just burning down and nothing makes sense anymore. Also, it's like, think about what they're doing with with this type of censorship, but then think about movies that use lots of guns, but Hollywood rails against gun violence all the time. Like, they're not going to censor that because those movies make too much money. Or I know for a while they were trying to put legislation in place that would prevent them from using real guns on set because they don't want to just hire competent people, because it's easy. It's not as easy apparently to find just people that are good at their job. But it's like, I'm not going to see a John Wick movie that's not using that's using rubber firearms. I'm not doing that. Like,
it feels different, especially for the actors too.
I miss squibs. I miss actual blood packs. Like when they like, that's why you watch RoboCop. That's the reason you watch those movies, is so you can see the actual blood pack explode in the chest. It's way better. So look, this is never going away. And somebody also pointed out that they think that the removal of ethnicities is so that when they make the movie adaptations of this thing, they can just put whoever they want in there.
They also can make Augustus Gloop have a BMI of 18. But it doesn't change the fact that the original story,
Fabio is Augustus Gloop.
Was there any pushback against who was the character in? Weren't they doing a Matilda with what's her name recently? And she played, who's the overweight lady? I can't remember.
The overweight lady.
The professor.
I'm not narrowing it down.
I could be misremembering that. But
anyway, I think that like the obvious response to this is throw your Amazon Kindle into the ocean if you were
read books.
Ever one of the people that bought one? I don't
read paper books. Like I can't. But I can't do the tablet reading. Like,
well, I mean, I think having hard copies, buying a Blu-ray of movies that could be canceled is good and important, but we can't stop there. We've got to do a two-pronged thing: protect your stash, get stuff for the future, but also fight back.
Yeah,
I don't think that one is
the
enough.
Editing of digital media, like movies and TV, is actually more nefarious and gets less attention.
There's way more of that going on right now, and like those little changes they make, whether it's Disney making little changes to movies or even just removing episodes. I mean, not even the big stuff like removing episodes, but just changing scenes is a problem. And also it's like it's anti-creator because it's like that's like assuming that the director would actually want that change made, but the director signed his soul over to have it. Well, they have in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, one of the big pet peeves that I have, and I go back and forth on this, in this argument, I would be on the director's side. But whenever the director's making the movie and they're complaining about all this stuff, I'm like, look, you're not funding the movie. Like in the end, you're making a deal with the devil. This company is the one with all the money, all the clout.
Yeah.
The producer is the one that gets the final say in the end. We're just realizing the far-reaching consequences of that now in an age where not everything will be viewed for the first time on some type of physical copy where people are going to be watching it on a hard drive somewhere.
And heaven help you for a screenwriter watching your movie just disappear.
Yeah, as everything's changed,
Yeah,
and
everything.
it's suddenly a very different project. And as and even worse, when they were talking about the James Bond, they put the trigger warning first. They put a trigger warning in the books and then still change stuff.
Yeah.
What's the point?
With the Ian Fleming estate alleged that Ian Fleming himself, before he died, I think it was in 1964, agreed to the changes. Like in 1964,
For the James-
he's like, gosh, I think we should really update this for modern sensibilities. Like, who's buying that nonsense?
Yeah. Well, they said that he agreed to some of the changes for the American version of.
I mean,
of that.
maybe in 1964 in America, you would have had the feeling that there's a need for an update, not in 2023.
Yeah.
And then the company acting as if that was the go ahead, where they're like,
Yeah.
well, he wanted to make some changes in
Like,
1964.
God forbid Tolkien ever said anything
Let's wait
similar.
65 years before he put his thoughts into action.
And then pretend as if like that was like the real good, like oh, we're just honoring his wishes. No,
Yeah.
you're using his wish. You're taking his wishes out of context as an excuse to make the changes that you want, so that you're allowed to continue being a publisher.
I would love to kind of go behind the scenes and find the genesis of each of these situations. Was it one sensitivity reader who set everything in motion? Was it one naysayer? Was it one person who said, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then started the ball rolling, because it had to happen somehow.
And all of those things, like in all likelihood, like you were saying earlier, with like you're mining for trauma. It says more about the reader, the sensitivity reader, than it does about
Trauma nuggets.
Well, it's like they always talk about how like when an author says something, like when you read a book, it says more about the author than it does about anything else. Than it does about the story. Now the sensitivity readers are becoming quasi co-writers on these books, because an editor is one of the most important aspects of any type of media production. Whether you're a film editor, if you've been in the process of making a movie, the editor can fundamentally change a story by how something is cut together.
You mentioned the What About Bob sort of a recut.
Yes, there's people who they recut trailers and they turn comedy trailers into horror trailers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
An editor really is the final storyteller. So a sensitivity reader is in a way a new editor for a story that's old, and that's a dangerous amount of power to give a 23-year-old who you hired because they've been traumatized.
Yeah. By the way, I think you and I were talking before the show about when did the woke period start? When was the change?
Yeah.
And I think it was maybe around 2014 or 15. They made a sequel to Neighbors. Neighbors was with Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne. Pretty funny comedy, not great, but solid stuff. And during the making of that, it was called Sorority Rising. They hired 2 female screenwriters to basically be sensitivity readers, because they said they wanted it to be empowering. The movie made 1/3 the money of the first one, and it stunk.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much it infected that movie, but that empowerment didn't really kick in. It didn't really make a good film.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge's career was born in a lot of ways. It's so funny when you mention Rose Byrne, because I can't take her as a comedian.
Really? I thought she's good.
I love her in Damages. And so she will always be that character in Damages to me, which was far more serious. So also, if you if you want to watch a better version of Scandal, watch Damages. That is my recommendation for the weekend. That and did anybody ever see the TriStar movie Josh and Sam from 1993?
No.
That will be my recommendation for the weekend. It was from 1993. It was a TriStar film. I don't believe you can find it on literally any streaming service. It says it's available on Prime Video to buy, but I do believe there is a version on YouTube that you can just watch. So it's about these 2 brothers getting divorced. It's a great, like, weird coming of age movie, and 2 parents are getting divorced and they run away and they go across country. Like nowadays it would would be turned into like a creepy horror, or like it would be very degenerate if they tried to make this movie back nowadays. But Josh and Sam was great.
Gotcha. Quick resource for you, justwatch.com. It's not a sponsored thing, but it's just a cool website. You punch it in, and basically it shows you where it's streaming. Is it streaming for free? Do you have to pay for it? That kind
they
of
have
thing.
that on IMDb.
Okay.
They have like on IMDb, it'll give you like it'll like right here it says watch on Amazon Prime for $14.99.
Oh, good.
But usually it has like a pull down menu and lists the other ones, like whether it's a paid service like Amazon or Hulu, or is it on Tubi or Quibi if Quibi was still around on those, or if you can buy it someplace like that. Like that's where I go to find.
Do you have all of the streaming services?
You know, I don't. I kind of dance around them. I'll do the free trials as much as I can, and I'll have some. I have Netflix. I have Amazon. You know, actually, I've been really enjoying Tubi, because it's free. There's a lot of content on there, and the commercial load is not bad.
It's not as bad. There's a couple of them. There's a couple of shows that I love that I can only find on like free, like on the ones with ads, right? I hate ads. Like
I hate them too.
Like Crossing Jordan is a show that I loved from like 2004 with Jill Hennessy. That's only available on like ad tier services. A lot of the shows that I loved, which weren't the most popular, they get pushed to the ad tier services because they're just not as in demand as a lot of the other shows and stuff like that.
One of my favorite movies, if you haven't seen it, try to find it. I don't know how you do it now. There may be a free one on YouTube, is The Sure Thing. Okay. John Cusack, Rob Reiner directed it, one of his first films. Daphne Zuniga.
Rob Reiner, huh?
I love Daphne Zuniga from back in the day. It's about Cusack's character is going to go cross country to meet his old buddy who's going to school in California, and he's got a sure thing for him, a girl who will be easy to manipulate in a sexual manner. So he's going across country. Meanwhile, he's falling in love with a girl he's traveling cross country with.
Oh,
it's a sweet, wonderful, cool movie. Tim Robbins has a funny cameo. It's a really wonderful movie.
When was it made?
84-ish, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mary, do you have anything to suggest to people to watch this weekend?
I haven't been watching much other than Harry Potter recently.
Have you made any progress?
And like
is that a
rewatching The Walking Dead still. Definitely don't go watch the new Mandalorian.
In the chat, somebody said, where is Smallville streaming? Smallville is on Hulu, and Hulu is by far and away probably the best of the options on streaming services now.
It's pretty deep.
For full series dramas.
Yeah.
Like if you want a full series drama, a lot of them are on Hulu. I also love Peacock. As weird as that is, I love Peacock. It's got a lot of these shows that you're not finding on the other ones. I love Eureka. Eureka was a great show from like 2006. But go see that. And if anybody's ever seen With Honors with Joe Pesci, Brendan Fraser, I think I recommended it at one point. There is this amazing speech in this movie where he talks about where Joe Pesci's character is a homeless person, talks about the importance of the U.S. Constitution. It's incredible. Like you would never get that movie made today. It would not be made today. It's also got Moira Kelly, like a very young Moira Kelly, who went on to play Chad Michael Murray's mom in One Tree Hill, like a decade later. So
cutting edge too, right?
Yes. So good stuff. Good stuff. So another question I wanted to ask you is like, so you said like we have to. Do you think parallel economies is like a thing that we have to think about developing right now for everything that's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to. I don't think there's an option. I hate it. I think it's a terrible idea on paper. But if you're going to kind of cancel people, you know, I did a podcast interview with Mike Barron. He's a comic book writer, legendary guy. He did a lot of great stuff.
Talked about him.
We Mary and me got some pushback for saying that maybe the private American pitch should have been a little bit better. But I love all those guys, like all the people in the comic space right now that I love that are doing their own thing. Like,
he's trying to listen. Marvel won't do his stuff. DC Comics won't do his stuff.
He's a Punisher. Like he's a writer of the Punisher.
Yeah, he's a really good guy, and he's smart. And so he said, "Oh, I'll just do crowdfunding. I'll look to the public and they send me money." And he's very successful. And now the crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter and crowdfunders say, "Oh, no. This is racist and sexist and all the things." And it's not. I read one of the 2 books that's been attacked. There's nothing problematic at all about it. Not at all.
The
protagonist is a POC as well.
Yes.
And it's because they used a story about the border, and the border is like a traditionally GOP talking point.
I mean, the narratives are inconvenient. That is not a crime. That is not a thought crime. And the fact that he can't do what he wants to do is just staggering. And so that's where the parallel economy, I mean, there's going to be a crowdfunding. I think maybe GoFundMe is maybe a little bit more Christian-based or a little bit more freedom-based.
Crowdfunder?
No, GoFundMe or forgive me. It's a different.
I think it's Give, Send, Go.
Give, Send, Go.
That's it.
Yeah,
You got it. Sorry.
GoFundMe is another one, but that's not.
That's it.
Yeah,
Right.
Give, Send, Go.
Apologies. But I think that one's a little more forgiving. But I don't like that we have to do that. But what choice do you have?
Ethan Van Sciver just recently moved to Subscribestar because Patreon basically said you insulted Disney or something. Like he basically said, he's like, I don't like the idea of like groomers and Disney, and they're like, you can't say that, and he's like, I'm not taking this post down.
You can't criticize mega corporations.
It's so weird how like everyone simps for like billion-dollar corporations now, while also complaining about like capitalism.
Will Smith praising Apple.
Yeah.
We're praising Amazon because they abridged Matilda. Like that too. We're now praising things like Patreon, PayPal,
There's
GoFundMe.
This amazing picture of this guy. It's like down with capitalism, and he's wearing like a Marvel shirt. It's like a comic drawing. It's like a comic strip. He's like down with capitalism, and he's got on a Marvel shirt and a Disney mask.
Probably Apple Watch.
Yeah, probably wearing an Apple Watch.
He's the guy who's been to Disney for like 3,000 days in a row.
Yeah, did you see that recently? A guy went 2,995 days in a row.
I'm speechless.
How can anybody afford that? I still have no idea how anyone, like, that has to be an email job, right?
I don't know if he has a job.
I mean, just entering is expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want a hot dog, you're done.
And how do you do it how do you do it with COVID? Did he just I like the idea that he broke in.
And
like,
if you want to go on any of the rides, you're in line for an hour.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually cooler if we find out that he had to like break in to beat the record. So like he's like dodging security guards and stuff like
Mission
that.
Impossible with all the lasers, they have to kind of weave around.
Or like, he lowered in on like the ripcord.
I like
thing.
watching those videos that are like secret, hidden haunted places at Disney or whatever.
Oh, and it's the people who like film the videos themselves. They get in trouble for doing that too. Like that's like a whole like subculture of people who like film in like areas they're not supposed to film in at Disney. You see like all the animatronics are like often it's like animatronic graveyard, and like there's all these characters there, and like Disney's like, you can't show that, and they're like being chased out by Paul Blart Mall Cop. Like it is what it is.
Submechanophobia, right? The phobia of like mechanical
Cheese kind of
stuff
things.
underwater.
Wow.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah.
I
Oh my
that.
gosh.
I have it, whatever it is.
I mean,
I feel like I'm gonna like step into the water and get sucked into all the machinery and crushed.
I always felt like Chuck E. Cheese was supposed to prepare you. It was like a childhood prep for dive bars. Like it was supposed to prepare you for what it was going to be like when you were going into a non-chain bar.
Oh my gosh.
Like
The pizza was just kind of off tasting.
It's the worst I've ever had.
I one time ordered it from Uber Eats.
Oh no! With all the options you had,
I ordered Chuck E. Cheese pizza from Uber Eats just to say I did. It was before Uber Eats costed like a gazillion
They recycle
dollars.
their pizza,
It was probably recycled. I was probably eating.
What does that mean?
It means that if some family leaves
half a
slices on the table that they haven't touched, they'll just
And what are the odds of that? 100%?
Cobble together a misshapen pizza that's they'll give to a different table.
Is that a bite in there? Oh, it's a star. It's nice.
And also, the E stands for entertainment.
Charles Entertainment Cheese.
I don't know why someone's last name would be Cheese, but it must be what, Italian?
It's like a Five Nights at Freddy's style.
You're questioning his last name, not his middle name.
Well, no, they had the Nicolas Cage movie. What was that one called?
Winter Wonderland.
Winter Wonderland?
Some Willie's. Where he fights the animatronic.
Yeah, where he fights the like. That's basically what that was. And like when he went in, he's kind of had his like rebirth as being like he's playing Nicolas Cage again, but like in movies that are a little bit more endearing. Between that and what was the unbearable weight of massive talent and stuff like that.
I mean, it's like he's leaning into the Nicolas Cage-ness of Nicolas Cage,
as he should.
Yeah.
Which is funny too, because I rewatched Lord of War recently.
It's good.
And I was thinking like he kind of doesn't play Nicolas Cage most of the movie, but there's like one scene where Monahan is like his wife's like breaking up with him, and he does this, and it's very Nicolas Cage because he sits in a seat and he turns to the side and he goes like this, and it's like he didn't know how to do a more dramatic version of that, but I love it. Like a lot of people don't remember 8mm or Snake.
I'm looking forward to Renfield, by the way.
The Nicolas Cage vampire movie.
Yeah, I can't get a beat on that trailer. I'm a little confused by it. I can't tell if it's
not
like wacky
understanding
or,
the tone. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's all over the map. I think that's the problem.
I mean, but he's kind of an all over the map kind of guy.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the way it's supposed to be.
It's like I can't do a Christopher Walken, but I think Christopher Walken is doing a Christopher Walken impression at this point.
Yeah. For a lot of there are certain like Ryan Reynolds doesn't have to play anything but Ryan Reynolds anymore if he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
I mentioned recently I watched Safe House last weekend, and I was like, it's really weird watching him not play like
that guy.
He is, but he's not. Like he's still got his Ryan Reynolds voice, but it's somehow slightly more serious than his actual voice in movies nowadays because the roles he takes lean into less serious portrayals.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I still love Van Wilder. I still like, you can't make that movie.
Oh
anymore,
no! I watched 10 minutes of that recently. Like, you wow.
Can't make any of that at all anymore. He was great in that.
And it's a mystery why they don't make any good more like feature length comedies. It's why did they go away? I don't know.
You can't do anywhere. Well, you mentioned B movies. Like I love the original Sharknado. Like as far as I'm concerned, Tara Reid is a national treasure. I don't care. I'm
and the Oscar goes to
like see the thing is though she could have leaned into it and just accepted all her Razzies.
Yeah.
And she would have gotten awards forever. But she'll probably have a renaissance one day too. She'll get like one serious role probably on a streaming service, and she'll have her own. The Renaissance will be
the whale
thing.
sequel. Maybe she'll
Jennifer
just gain a bunch of
Coolidge
weight.
is having hers.
Oh my gosh, she is. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a big.
She's pretty
thing
good
right now.
though. She's pretty good.
I haven't seen American Pie in so long, so I don't have any recollection of. And I never saw any of the sequels. I only saw the original.
They're okay.
Another movie you can't make again is not another teen movie.
The list is so long at this point.
It wasn't. I'm sorry, it wasn't that good enough.
That is objectively false. Mary's wrong about that one. Okay, there. I'm changing. Brett recommends.
Maybe I should rewatch it and just check. But
I'm changing Brett recommends for the weekend. Go watch Not Another Teen Movie, if for no other reason than to see Reggie Ray get like cut in half, and then have the guy go walk it off. Like they cut the guy in half on the football field, and so he goes walk it off. It's incredible. All right, we got some super
chat time.
You got a couple.
Talking and Drawing with Shane Davis said, "Great show, thank you."
Thank you.
The Last of My Kind said, "Took your advice and watched Romeo Must Die. 'Twas good."
Yes. Look, the loss of Aaliyah will be felt forever. Aaliyah would have been Beyonce, but if she had not passed away, I will stand by that till the day I die. But that was Anthony Anderson in the year 2000 before, it would have been right around the time that he was kind of getting bigger. I think he joined Law & Order after that. But Delroy Lindo, who's one of the most underrated.
He's good, yeah.
You don't get much of him. Like, you'd think you would see more of him these days, but I think the last thing I saw him in was, what was that movie with Michael B. Jordan where they play, it's the military unit? And he's like a Trump supporter in I forget the name.
Is it a Spike Lee movie?
Yeah.
Oh, not The Five Bloods, is it? Or
it could? Yeah, no, it was.
Okay.
It was, yeah. So like, I think that was like the last thing that I saw him in. But he's another one of those actors just has incredible delivery. And in that movie, he plays Aaliyah's dad, and it's basically like an Asian gang and a black gang are facing off against one another, and she is the daughter of the black gang's leader. He is the ne'er-do-well son of sorts. He's not even technically the ne'er-do-well son dies earlier in the movie, but he is like the banished son of the Asian gang, and it's incredible. Like, you wouldn't be able to make that movie now because they would never allow a movie with that much it's just it's too true.
Bill Maher was talking to someone recently. It might have been Greg Gutfeld on Club Random, which is a really good podcast, but I really recommend that one. And he said the thing he hears the most is, "You couldn't make that today. You couldn't make that today." And it's often about comedies, but it's not always about comedies. It's about other subjects as well. So it's just a shame.
In that one, it's like they would you're enforcing stereotypes about black people and Asian people by saying that they're in gangs, as if every race
it's
aren't
never happened
in gangs.
before.
It's never happened
What about
before.
Russians and Italians?
No, Russians are the go-to for Hollywood.
yeah.
There's nobody they love crapping out. Like, they still act like the Bratva is like running all of the world these days, but they love just like they talk about Putin, like as if Putin is the biggest.
Russian people are cool.
Yep,
that's why they make good villains.
It's like what did I say the other day? It's like is it we were talking about Donnie Yen complaining about Asian stereotypes. I'm like, can they no longer make?
He didn't like that his character in John Wick 4 was named Shang or Chang or something.
Yeah,
and he made them change it to Kane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Better movie.
And I was like, well, like what? Like in John Wick 1, he kills a bunch of Russians in a bathhouse. Isn't that stereotypical that Russians all hang out at bathhouses? Come on.
It was ridiculous. Jacob Edler said, just tear into every movie when asked at the theater if you liked it. We got to counteract all the orfs
That's
contributing to the lower standards.
Yeah.
What would you do? Would you do it?
No, I can't. It
Gotta
hurt
be
my
honest.
soul.
Gotta be honest.
I have to say, I often will see a really bad movie and I'll walk out of the theater and I'll hear people behind me saying, that was so good. That was so good. It just a little part of me kind of dies in the Jimmy Fallon sense of the word.
Doesn't it ever make you want to be like, well, could you tell me about it? Like, I mean, Mary and me talk about this a lot, but look, subjectivity does exist. And Mary thinks there's more objective standards to judge it by, but I think that your life experience and even just how many movies you've seen,
you get burned out a little bit too, for sure. And also, they had a good time. I mean, why should I be too? I mean, I could be grumpy selfishly, but they came to a movie, had a great time. They're going home. Done and done. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
G. Santoyo said Heart of Darkness was the inspiration for Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Touchy Subject said, did the carnival scenes on Dahmer ignore the rules because they had no options for crew?
I did not watch Dahmer.
And he said, Mary, review Touchy Goes to Hollywood free with Prime. This is a thing now?
Touchy Goes to Hollywood.
The clown who infiltrates Hollywood to kill all of the PDFs.
I haven't seen it, so
I don't know. I guess
Hollywood's like can't do that. Hits too close to home.
I'll have to
with
check
Hollywood
this out.
in their creepy business model.
DD Megadoodoo said, waiting for there to be a trauma trading card game.
What would would it be like Magic the Gathering?
Cards Against Humanity, but it's like trauma related.
I love Cards Against Humanity. That's a guilty pleasure.
That's your most chuggy trait.
Yeah,
that's your chuggy toxic
is.
trait.
I have fun with Cards Against. Like every time we've done like Airbnbs, they play like Cards Against Humanity. It's like it is the most like basic bitch white girl thing.
What about
to do.
Apples to Apples, the kids version?
Yeah, I didn't play Uno until like last year. Like it was the first time I'd ever played Uno, and it was like it was at like a get together. I lost.
Yeah.
Theoden
King of Broan said, sensitivity readers, what are you talking about? Fahrenheit 451 was always about climate change.
It could be. And then Fahrenheit 9/11,
That's great.
Corey Anderson said, the woke movement began with Glee.
Glee came out like 2008, right?
The emotion Glee.
You could make the argument that would be a good example of like something like that achieving mainstream success and proving the viability of the business model, even though they haven't been able to recapture that level of success.
But it was before we reached such a saturation point.
Yeah.
Maybe the novelty of it maybe was an attraction there.
Who was there like Corey, what's his name? In that
it was an ensemble cast. That was
I
Ryan
never
Murphy
watched
was the
Glee.
guy pulling the
Ryan
strings.
Murphy, who's also made a bunch of other like
American Horror. I mean, he does everything.
He's that's a very weird like go from Glee to American Horror Story.
He's super successful. I mean, I think he's probably stretched himself too thin at this point, but he does a lot of work.
He's got like 9 shows in production. He does like 911 and a bunch of these other network shows.
Like the People
as well.
versus O.J. Simpson. He did one of the O.J. Simpson dramas.
When we were in that like crime, like reality TV, crime TV thing. Yeah.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Brett, have a good weekend. Mary, can't wait for that promised taco dinner after Lent.
Well, what's Lent?
I don't know if I promised anything.
I don't know what Lent is. It's the Mark Wahlberg 40-day challenge.
Yeah, it's the Mark Wahlberg 40-day challenge. James Ornthal said, why pine for a Van Wilder sequel when you can watch Bert Kreischer? I think that's how you say it.
He's a comedian,
in any of his appearances in real time. That laugh, though.
Nobody wants.
I think there actually was a Van Wilder sequel.
There was a sequel, and then there was Rise of Taj. There was 3 of them. Like obviously, none of them ever achieved. It's kind of like when they made Road Trip, and then they made there's like 9 sequels to all those movies that get like Euro Trip. They always make a ton of sequels.
Those cash-ins are just embarrassing. The direct-to-video.
Well, hey, I got no problem with it because most of those were politically incorrect. Most of those movies, they're not good movies, but my goodness, are they just also like Hollywood would never allow them to be made now because they'd be considered anti-feminist and anti-woman.
They did make a feminist American Pie though. Maybe it was called Girls Rule, maybe, or something.
It's horrible.
I know. I didn't. See
so on the nose.
I mean, American Pie's not really supposed to be about being feminine. Like that's just a coming of age. It's just a very vulgar coming of age story.
And also, it had a sweetness to it. A lot of those movies do have a kind of a sticky center where it's wrong choice of words, but they end up like being more monogamous, or they don't have the sex or something.
The Girl Next Door.
Yeah, like the Judd Apatow movies are actually kind of sweet. Like 40-Year-Old Virgin, he waits until his wedding day and wedding night to have sex.
The Girl Next Door is actually like a weirdly sweet movie, even though it's about the porn. It's about a girl who retires from porn and essentially like falls in love for the first time after being part of an industry that took advantage of her. So in the movie, the boy, it's Elijah Wood, he's finding romance for the first time with this girl who's changed his life, and she's discovering love for the first time, even though he was a virgin, she was not a virgin. But the idea is that she's being in a way reborn again as a person who's like come back from this traumatic industry
with agency.
Yes, and it's got a great Timothy Olyphant bad guy role where he plays like a creepy porn producer. It's fantastic.
It has a disclaimer at the beginning that says based on a not true story that would absolutely never happen in the real world.
Essentially, like and in the end, the kid makes his money by developing the kid. He sells like how to have safe sex movies to schools.
Oh my gosh!
Like that's how he ends up making his money and becomes rich.
Benjamin Stevens said Nicolas Cage had in his contract he didn't want any lines for that Five Nights at Freddy's knockoff Willy's Wonderland. Top tier Nick Cage moment.
I love it.
Gosh.
I love it.
Did you watch Blood and Honey, by the way? The Winnie the Pooh.
No, I didn't.
movie?
I didn't.
Okay, we made the mistake of watching it. No, I mean it was like
What?
it was fine.
I thought you liked it. You liked it.
I mean, we laughed at it, but it was boring.
I don't get that whole trend. Like there's the Banana Splits horror movie. That was a kiddie show from the 70s or 60s.
I mean, like they're just reinventing childhood characters as villainous.
They're still making more. Like one is coming about Bambi.
Yep, and another one about.
Except that wasn't scary enough.
And another one about not Tinkerbell, though I heard Peter Pan. Yeah, there's gonna be
he has one too.
See, that'll be better than Peter Pan and Wendy.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to watch Peter Pan and Wendy. You can make are they gonna race swap Peter Pan in that one? I don't think so. He's gonna be white as snow when he's killing people in that movie. You betcha.
Usually, Matt said, "Crazy that Reed's career ended over Nip scandal."
Tara Reid. Yeah. I mean, she was also like, she had problems with drugs and stuff like that. She was like, go watch Van Wilder. She's unbelievably sweet in that movie. And I don't know if she's believable as a journalist. Personally, I don't know any journalists that look like 2000s Tara Reid, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Evan King said, if a studio took a risk on a new funny, raunchy comedy, like There's Something About Mary, and it made money in theaters, would we see more comedies?
That's what I've been hoping for quite a while, and I don't think we've got it yet.
They'll all go straight to streaming. They're not going to take the risk on those.
Well, actually, Peter Farrelly, who did a lot of Something About Mary and Kingpin, he's got a movie. He's actually talked about that. He says we want to see those movies. We want to see raw, crazy, outrageous movies, and I've got one. It's in production now. I just read it's going to streaming. It's going to Amazon.
It's always going to go streaming. Part of it's because like the acting age is going to eventually be at the age requirements for a lot of those roles. The early 20s to mid 20s actors, they're going to not want to do them because they're not going to want to be called names for doing roles that are sexist or misogynist. And the older actors that are willing to take a risk on doing roles like that, they're going to be aged out unless they're playing creepy old guy. Like that is like a trope of Hollywood that still to this day I laugh at. Like every old guy is creepy.
It's like a perv.
It's a perv. It's always somebody like, in the script they use the word leered. He leered at her. Like they do it in like in the show NCIS. They make Gibbs's dad like says creepy things to the girls in the show, and they're like, oh, he's just being old. Like that's just how old people are. Like that's not like that's just weird.
Yeah.
Trauma Llama said, unrelated, but whatever happened to Steven Seagal? Last I heard, he was personally visiting injured Russian troops in the hospital.
He's a hero of.
He makes
Putin.
a lot of movies. I don't know if he's done it recently, but there was a while you go like they had these most generic titles like Captain Commander or something. It's like unbelievable.
But I love the movies, like all those movies, like Strike Force, and they all have, it's the same cover on all of them. It's a highly over stylized. It's got all the actors in a line, you know, in like a circle going up it, and it's always starring Bruce Willis.
I just got a press release about a new Bruce Willis movie. Now, he's been down and out, sadly, for a couple of years now, but he must have shot so many of these movies that they're still coming out.
He's was there a reason for that? Like I know why Nicolas Cage did the run of bad movies.
He had tax problems.
He had tax problems, but Nicolas Cage but Bruce Willis, I don't feel like that was the thing. He just liked to do the movies.
I think he was banking money while he knew he was in decline. That's my only guess.
Oh, so you think it was actually related to his health issues?
Yeah, because they were shooting around him. They'd give him less dialogue. They'd shoot from behind. You have like a stunt double with like a bald head. Yeah. So they were clearly, I mean, they were using him in part because his name would make all the money. Yeah. So you get Willis on the poster, you can get direct-to-video sales pop. So that was part of it. But I mean, why would an actor of his consequence do these really rudimentary movies again?
Especially
and again
when he was so picky in his early, like, you know, he worked like the story of Hudson Hawk and all this stuff like that, getting that made, because he didn't want to just do, you know, before he was an action star, he was actually, it was so crazy to think, like, even before my time, he was not always an action guy. We had another one.
Thank you, guys.
You know what role I loved him in was, thank you. With Lucy Liu and Josh Hartnett in
Lucky Number 11.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
He's a good, you know, he would walk through some movies, but he also was a good actor too.
And in that one, like just Josh Hartnett being a Minnesota dude, like so he was always kind of an art nerd, like just
real life.
Like he's like, he makes movies, like he wanted to make art. He didn't want to do like big budget studio films, which is why it was a big deal that they got him in. I forgot what it was. They got him in a couple of. They got him in a Guy Ritchie movie, Wrath of Man, a couple of years ago.
He's in another Guy Ritchie movie too. I think that just came out. Operation Fortune.
I know that movie's not getting great reviews, but I'm a fan of anything with Guy Ritchie and Jason Statham. I'll watch it at least once.
By the way, Minnesota dude is Sean William Scott. I met him a few years ago. Very, very nice guy.
There's quite a few. Rachel Lee Cook was from Minnesota. Ian Anthony Dale, who's a big TV guy now. He produced Salvation. He was on Hawaii Five-0 and in a bunch of those shows. But there's quite a few of them that have come out of Minnesota. Brianna Brown is like a very, very good like blue collar. You've seen like if you saw her, you'd recognize her from a guest appearance on some show. Yeah. There's a lot of them that come out because there's a couple of theater programs at a lot of those colleges in Minnesota that export outwards.
Gotcha.
Francisco Sanchez Jr. said, imagine I think this is meant to be Gran Torino made today. Clint Eastwood's character would be an older black woman, and the Vietnamese kids would be asylum seekers. There would be no Gran Torino in the movie.
What year did Gran Torino come out?
I'm thinking 2008.
Oh, 8 or 09? Like,
you know, one of the young Asian actors, I think he might have made his debut in that film, later said, how dare they make that film, or complained about
what?
I remember that.
It was nauseating because the whole movie was about Clint Eastwood's character becoming a better human being, sacrificing his life, pushing past his bigotry, and which is a beautiful thing. And they
in a way, you have to kind of expect it. Like the young actors might not even understand the nuance of the story. Just because they were in the movie doesn't mean they understood the
Shouldn't they be grateful for the experience of working with a legend, an icon?
People love him.
Yeah.
Like he's what's the movie? I was just talking recently about New Jack City. The director of New Jack City only got his job on that role because Clint Eastwood, he had never directed a movie before. And he's like, I don't remember his name off the top.
Mario Van Peebles, right?
Yes. Okay. And he's a big producer now in a big movie. Like he only got that directing role because Clint Eastwood vouched for him.
Now, was he in Heartbreak Ridge? Is that why?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Rhaegar Targaryen said, the last time I watched a movie on the big screen, I felt like I got hit by virtue bombs, which reminded me of Virtue Bombs, How Hollywood Got Woke and Lost Its Soul by Christian Toto on Amazon today.
Best plug ever.
That was incredible.
Did it for you.
That was incredible.
Dee Megan Doo-Doo.
Did that book come out like a year ago now?
Yeah.
Is that about how long that came out? Are you working on anything else?
No, I'm just kind of busy doing other things, and book projects are so lengthy. So
how long did that take to make?
You know, it wasn't super long, but also it's frustrating because once you hand over the manuscript, it takes forever to get out there. So I think if I did something again, I might self-publish just the speed. But
through
I mean,
Amazon.
well.
They can censor you. They
That's
can, they
right.
can change all the words.
I will
there.
not mention. Was the author again? The Heart of Darkness one. Joseph Conrad.
Conrad.
I will not mention him.
Yeah.
DD Mega Doodoo said, it was very nice of you, Mary, to make a grand appearance on Tim's Lil Show. Wanted to wish you luck on your Mark Wahlberg 40-day challenge. Was upholding mine by saying the rosary in front of... I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means. Before work this morning?
Before work this morning? I don't get it.
Okay.
And Rhaegar Targaryen said... DD Mega Doodoo, you have the best name. Also, yes, Lucky Number 11 is a favorite. Christian, have you heard of ... The Wire?
It's I'm very much the world's biggest fan of the TV show The Wire.
Everyone is. I mean,
yes.
it's celebrated.
It's
so.
it's my other basic bitch take. Like I love it, but I love Power too from Courtney, like in 2014 with Omari Hardwick.
You have an interesting take on TV. Sort of lesser known shows, you kind of celebrate them.
I love small, like, because a lot of it is like, I love the idea that those things that can get made by people with less clout in the industry.
Well, it's a real passion. Maybe it didn't have the commercial success. This is before both your times, and I'll take a wild stab at it. There was a show in the 80s called Sledgehammer. Did you ever hear of it?
Never heard of it.
It's about a cop who's like a super duper cop, and he talks to his gun.
I love it. Oh my God.
It was good. I mean, I remember it being great.
Like,
maybe it wouldn't hold up.
That is incredible.
But,
that I would watch that. I would check it out.
It didn't last long, but
in
it was
a way
funny.
that he's like crazy, or like it's sort of a running
intense
thing?
kind of a thing. Maybe a little passion about his work.
Any other shows you could recommend to people?
Oh gosh, I recent wise I watched. I think it's called The Undoing. It's probably 2 years old on HBO Max with Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman. They play a married couple, and he has an affair, and the woman he has an affair with dies, and he's the main suspect.
Oh.
And he's a surgeon, he's well respected, and it looks like he's guilty, but he insists he's innocent, and his wife is starting to believe that he is innocent. It's a really good show. It's about 6 episodes.
Does he tell his wife that he was having the affair?
She finds out.
Okay.
But Hugh Grant is sensational.
Yeah.
Like, here's another guy who was always a fine actor, good actor, frothy comedies he could do. He's getting great. Yeah. He's really interesting now. So.
He's coming through his own kind of reconnaissance of sorts right now.
And Guy Ritchie's really pulling a lot of good stuff out of him too.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Christian, thank you so much for coming today.
My pleasure. This is fun.
And you have
just restarted your podcast.
I keep all the money, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you get to keep all of the money.
Sweet.
But yeah, you just restarted your podcast. So
yep.
tell us about it.
It's the Hollywood in Toto podcast once a week. It probably will go 2 times a week soon, but interviewing a lot of people. It's going to be people across the spectrum politically, artists who have been canceled, things like that. So I think it's an important voice because I don't think a lot of people think like me, honestly. I mean, when it comes to entertainment, film criticism, it's almost always to the left of center. But, my show is more about freedom, free speech, free expression. And I think that's really important right now. So
there has to be a lot of actors that are like want to come on at least to talk about it. The ones that have been.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's a tough subject. It's
hard for the ones that are still active.
Yeah.
That are still in the industry but are having trouble. Like if they're still trying to find work, but they don't want to speak out about it. Like I understand the fear of that.
Yep.
Like there's a lot of them that it's like they decide like once I make this statement, I'm officially going to be branded forever.
That things will change. One thing I will say, the dirty little secret about this though is often when they do that, when they make the statement, when they make the jump, where they speak their minds, their success doubles or triples. Yeah. I know a lot of comedians who have a great success by not doing SNL, not doing late night, but just doing their own thing with their own voice. And they get more powerful. Even
some mainstream ones. I mean, Andrew Schultz gets mainstream work. Yeah. Like he was in that movie with Seth Rogen, that movie where he doesn't kiss her at the end, and they did the thing about the CGI.
That's Jonah Hill at You People.
Jonah Hill, yes. Yeah. Okay, like he's Andrew Schultz is mainstream for all intents and purposes.
He's kind of getting there, but he also did a streaming comedy special
that he bought back.
Yes, because he said they were censoring his work. He said, "Oh no, I want this back." He bought it back. He said he made triple his money back in maybe like a week or so. They will support you if you speak your mind. Yes, exactly. All right. Let everyone know where they can find you in addition to the podcast. Sure. My website is hollywoodintoto.com. On Twitter, it's at hollywoodintoto. And my work appears at outkick.com and the Daily Wire as well. Excellent. All right, Mary, where can they find you? All right. You can find me, as always, on Instagram or Twitter. They're both Mary Archived. And I am happy that if any of you were watching IRL last night, you came and watched the stream. All right.
All right, guys, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Brett Dasovic. This show is Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you would like to listen to this podcast, we're on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you'd like to follow the show on social media, we are on Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We'll be back with another episode on Monday. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.